G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another episode of the Trackside Lounge podcast where once again, for the third time running, I'm joined by my two good mates here. Atom, say hello.
Everyone!
Yeah, g'day mate, and Nismo as well, how are you?
Now with 125% better sound quality, yeah.
So good, big upgrades coming to the Trackside Lounge, so get yourselves subscribed for that, plenty more coming as well. Alright, so we are going to be talking about Gran Turismo 7 again. You probably could have guessed that. No prizes for guessing that in one go. But there's more going on. So if you haven't seen the last two podcast episodes, we talked about Gran Turismo 7 as well. The first one was before the release, and then the second one was after the release, when there was all that little bits of controversy happening. That was a very juicy chat, so make sure you go and listen to that one. But as for today, there's been some changes in Gran Turismo recently, and we're going to go through a lot of it today, as well as what we'd like to expect to see in the future. But the main thing, or not necessarily the main thing, or the first thing we're going to talk about is something that hits me quite close to home, I guess, because it affects me probably more so than any of the other issues that we're going to talk about today, or topics we're going to talk about today, and especially given that the test season 2 for manufacturers and Nations Cup both ended as of yesterday at time of recording. We're going to talk about some of the ins and outs of that test season, how we felt, and most importantly to me, the schedule. Was the schedule too intensive? We're going to get into all that now. So I'm going to kick it off. Nismo.
Hello, yes. Test seasons, I mean, obviously they are a necessary evil, as with any game that is the size and caliber of Gran Turismo. There's always going to be hiccups, and there's always going to be, obviously that's the whole point of a test season, is to find the bugs and iron them out before we go into any serious racing. But these particular test seasons just gone have been very chaotic. We've had, we started off with connection issues and cars zigzagging all over the place, and now we're getting some races just aren't even starting, which obviously, Smoke, you know about that one most recently.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that it's come a long way. Obviously, the first, from release, obviously online was just absolutely not an option. It was just all over the place. It was ridiculous. I'd like to think we've come a long way from there, but there's obviously still a lot more to address, and that's not even getting into the schedule itself, which was every single day, bar a few exceptions, which just isn't viable for someone like me, and I'm sure I speak for a lot of the community as a whole, who have jobs and who have lives and who have other hobbies outside of the game. They can't be racing completely different cars at completely different tracks day in, day out like that. So yeah, we had a bit of a poor turnout for some of the rounds, and it definitely showed in the points.
Yeah. Atom, is any of that reflected with you?
Yeah, it resonates big time, eh? Were either of you guys around for the test seasons in sport? Because I wasn't, and I'd be interested to know if they were... Okay, so we don't know if they were any different.
Yeah.
But I imagine the numbers being so low is just like... It's just part of the test seasons. Like, a whole bunch of people, weren't bothered. Although, having said that, there were some older names that turned up that kind of dipped out late into sport. Kenny Economos comes to mind. He turned up for one of the test season 1 races, and Emily Jones has been back.
Yep.
She's been pretty prominent, actually. But for the most part, a lot of people are obviously giving it a miss. And what you said, Nate, about not being able to make a lot of rounds for a lot of people was a big issue, and even for me. And I had COVID, and I wasn't working, and I didn't do all the rounds because I got a girlfriend to spend time with, Like, I can't just commit all that time to doing that. So even I couldn't do all the rounds. I think I got 4 counting rounds in the Nations Cup, and they were counting like 7. So I didn't even place well, and I got my best result ever in one of the races.
That was also a curiosity too, was that for such an intensive schedule, it would have been better. Like, I know some seasons in the past, they've only counted 4 or 5 rounds of the team.
They usually count just under 50% normally.
Yeah. So it was interesting that they wouldn't continue that, and then people would be able to look at the schedule and go, okay, obviously doing all the races isn't an option for my situation, so I can cherry pick the rounds that, obviously High Speed Ring, Group 4 High Speed Ring was a particular highlight for me. I enjoyed that one. The Renaults at the little Alsace test course, that was also a very good round. So,
Each to their own?
Just well, it was only because I won the thing. But,
congratulations, mate.
Thanks, Mr. MCA. Your tunes are top notch. But the being able to cherry pick what rounds worked, even if you were only doing the minimum necessary to bank your points, you're still doing 7 races over a period of 10 days, which is phenomenal. When you times 2, because obviously nations and manufacturers.
Well, funnily enough, I don't think manufacturers actually took 7. I think they only took 4.
Interesting. Okay.
Really?
I could be wrong, but I think that manufacturers did not take 7 rounds. I think they took 4, which was much more realistic, and is obviously what nations should have done. Don't like fact check me on that. I don't actually know that for sure, but I for some reason I think that's the case. So,
but like I said,
would be ideal
with any big release. I mean, Gran Turismo being one of, if not the biggest casual sim racing. It's not iRacing, it's not Assetto Corsa, but it's probably the one that strikes the most balance between accessibility and serious competition. So a test season is a necessary evil, and unfortunately we are going to have to deal with some of those pains, and some of those growing pains, I suppose, would be the better term. But like I said, as long as everything's all sorted before we go official racing, then I'm okay with it. I can at least cope with it.
My concern there actually is you're absolutely right. The test season is there to iron out the issues, find out what's wrong, and implement the fixes before we go official racing. My concern is that there are so many issues to try and sort out. We had the GR Yaris schedule released recently. What month was that? Was that May for the races?
Oh, for the
they start.
Was it May?
Yeah. The Gazoo Cup first round is in May. I think it's on the 15th or something. Yeah.
Okay. So I think what a lot of the community has gathered from that is that official seasons will probably start around then, because history has shown that the Yaris, or not even the Yaris, the GR Toyota Cup or whatever, is generally run sort of at the same time as the nations and manufacturers. So that gives us, let's say about a month, slightly less than a month, to iron out all the issues. And I mean, what were some of the issues? I think the biggest one is connectivity.
Oh, many.
Connectivity. Yeah. Like I said, at the start it was just generally the connection.
Yeah.
But that seems to have been mostly ironed out. It's more
I found it pretty bad at Daytona.
Okay.
Pretty bad at Daytona.
I've been up and down.
Actually, that was in a private lobby, to be fair, though. And we'll talk about that. So maybe it's better in the race, but okay.
The races are always better.
I have to say, the official races are considerably better than the lobbies. The lobbies are pretty much unraceable. They're a bit of a write-off, really.
Any private league stuff at the moment is a very big call. Like I've seen, obviously there are some private leagues out there that are attempting to do series at the moment, and good
Sector
on them.
1 kicks off on the 2nd of May.
Yeah, exactly.
Goodness me.
That's early as, so they're committing to it pretty early.
Yeah.
The other issue that I was seeing was sort of some of the tuning didn't make sense. Like, performance points would sometimes wildly change with the slightest little adjustment, and like PD are aware of that. They've put it in their latest known issue thing. But it's just stuff like that, because the connectivity, that's something they can probably iron out and fix. They can go down a route and go, we know how to fix that, let's go and do it. But something like the tuning, which is so intricate, everything interacts with one another, I feel like that is going to be a very tough fix to make sure all the tuning for every car, every single part configuration on every car works as it's intended. What else?
Brake balance being disabled. Brake balance doesn't affect the PP. If you put your brakes all the way to the front and then put it all the way to the back, there's no PP difference. So I don't know why it's excluded from competition. When
I find it weird. I find it weird about something like the brake balance being locked. You can't change it in a race car when, by default, if we're going like by real life, the majority of actual race cars have the brake bias adjustment inside.
Yeah,
But
and we
then-
talked about this in the last episode.
Yeah, we
about
did.
how-
But I want to sort of connect it to, like, if PD are going for realism, what's the go with you can buy a set of wheels, but then you have the wheels and you can use it on any car. I feel like if you're gonna implement realism, you would need to buy the set of wheels on every car.
Okay, give me
then
them ideas,
also-
Mike, please.
Given the initial economy, I'd say that would have been something that they factored in then. And now that they've made money, obviously we'll get onto this later.
Yeah.
They've made money more accessible. Now that would be a much more realistic thing to have. But they couldn't have that in the beginning because you would not have been able to afford wheels for every car.
I think
Yeah,
There was no way back then.
It's not like they were that expensive. It's like 3-4K for a set of wheels. But I just find it weird if they're going for realism. You can buy a set of wheels and use it on every car, but you can't change your brake balance. Whereas in real life, it intuitively makes sense that they should be the other way around. You should have brake balance at all times, at least in race cars, and then you have to buy the set of wheels for each car. It's just sort of that little tidbit of realism that they're trying to add. It's not quite consistent across the game, in my opinion.
Oh, look, there's always going to be compromises that have to be made in regards to the exact realism. Like, I mean, cars like the Aston Martin Vulcan, for example, which in game it's a racing car, but obviously it's a track-only hypercar type vehicle. That's pretty much just a GT3 car with, a sleeker, sexier skin. But like, my point is, like, you're never going to have a game where, if you have a real Aston Martin Vulcan, obviously there are different things that you're going to have to prepare before you take it to the track, rather than a game like Gran Turismo where you can just buy a car and then 5 minutes later you're
of
hanging
course,
it around Trial Mountain. So it's definitely, I mean, with the wheels, I don't really think...
I'm not really bringing up the wheels to say that it's an issue and that I would like it to be changed to how it would realistically. It's just sort of... there's a parallel to be drawn there between the realism of how the wheels work and the realism of how the brake balance work.
Well, it's like saying, would you like to pay for all the fuel that you've used? I mean, Gran Turismo keeps track of your fuel usage. You, in your Nations Cup season, used 200 litres of fuel or whatever, so do you factor in the price of fuel? There are just some things that it's just better to...
We've got oil too.
You have oil.
Yep.
Also, slightly not relevant. I wouldn't mind if we had to pay for fuel. I said it. I wouldn't mind it. If
How
at
would
the
you
end
earn
of
the money?
race,
What if it doesn't balance out? You go to the
There you
Sunday
go.
Cup and you get 200 credits for it, but it costs you 250 credits in fuel.
I'm just saying, it would obviously have to be a big sort of implementation and change to make sure that thing wouldn't happen. But I'm just saying, if that was in the game, I wouldn't be up in arms about it.
Sounds
Anyway,
like you need to give the real racing a crack, mate. Because
I
I'd like to
reckon.
take us back to the brake bias thing.
Of
we were
course.
talking about on a real race car, obviously brake bias is just a thing. But I would like to point out that on real race cars, tuning is also a thing. So if you take away the tuning, do you also take away the brake bias? I don't know whether it's yes or no. But I don't like the brake bias isn't there, but I can see why they've done it. Although I'm kind of like, But I'll point out as well, you know how on four-wheel drive cars you can do a torque split? So you can change whether it's 50-50 or 60-40 or whatever.
Only for Group B cars, but yes.
Group B cars, or you can put a torque vectoring diff in anything four-wheel drive in the tuning shop. So
Even
you
Group
can...
4?
I don't know. I don't know. Possibly.
Anyway, go
probably not. But anyway, when tuning is off, you also cannot adjust your torque split, which we noticed in the Red Bull race in the Group B cars.
Right.
Okay.
See,
So
I didn't
same
do
as the
that
brake
one.
bias, you can't adjust it.
I was gonna do that one, but I was just
I didn't
way
because
too
schedule.
tired.
I didn't line up.
Maybe they need to take traction control away as well if they're going to take away those two.
Oh.
And the fuel map.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Hey,
If they're gonna go all out, come on, mate.
yeah, that's what I mean.
can't
They're
just pick and choose
half-hearting
like that.
this.
I think the thing
They're
to look at-
half-hearting this.
I think the thing to look at, okay, so you've got your tuning and then you've got your bop as far as the two critical aspects that balance a race as far as competition. Do you want Polyphony to focus on the tuning and getting the tuning right, or do you want them to focus on the bop and get the balance of performance right among the vehicles?
I would like to see the bop right, because I prefer balance of performance races where I don't have to muck around with finding the right tune. I would absolutely want them to get the bop right.
I want to abolish tuning.
Oh,
I'm not interested in tuning personally.
I would agree.
I know some people are.
I agree. If you look at all the races back in sport, right? Group 3 was almost perfectly balanced. Like, it was such a good class.
It was
as all things should be.
As group 4 group 4 was a little bit more situational, but even then, like, if there was a meta, because it was manufacturer series, there was only really sort of like 2 or 3 people that were in the meta. It wasn't like Nations, where if you find one strong car, the whole grid's using it. I'm completely with you, man. I would abolish tuning if it meant that the races were even, because I don't care if tuning's a thing. Everyone's just going to find some YouTuber's tune, and it's all going to cancel itself out. So, like, who cares?
Not only that, though, the guys who can tune and keep it to themselves will get a huge advantage, which I kind of like. The tuning adds a skill gap. And I can kind of appreciate the fact that they've done it for like a couple of races and not all of them in the test season and second test season. But for me personally, I can't tune. I don't have a tuner. I don't have any way of getting an advantage through tuning. I'd rather it just wasn't there. But for anyone who is into tuning, I can fully understand them wanting it to exist. So I don't know what they're going to do. I think the fairest thing for inclusivity of all is to not have tuning, but there's plenty of arguments to keep it as well.
I think I talked about this in the first episode, because our first episode was obviously the week before Gran Turismo 7 launched, and we were all, anticipating the changes and the major quality of life differences. I wouldn't mind if tuning was abolished, but then you have your Nations Cup, your Manufacturer Series, but then you also have a third championship for those people. So
I cannot express how strong I would push that idea if I worked at Polyphony. I would say, I don't care who I need to speak to, you need to have a tuning championship. That is how the tuning should be done in a game like Gran Turismo. Yeah. Absolutely.
And then have it where it's, whether you ran it as a regional thing, or whether I mean, obviously it wouldn't be like manufacturers where you sign with a particular car, but it could have more of a focus on your professionally tuned cars, your G-Ready Z and your
would be more like a Nations Cup with tuning.
Yeah, exactly.
Those sorts of combos, that sort of variation.
It could focus more on the tuned cars in the game, the Amuse S2000 and the take an R30, like the daily race that we had in the first one. Take an R32, how fast can you make it go? That sort of thing. It's a bit more catering to those people, but then
you can split it again. You can do horsepower limits, you can do weight limits, you can do PP limits.
And go to town. And then the guys that like the bop, and then the guys that like the bop don't have to worry about it. It's not even part of the championship that they're interested in.
I appreciate that idea, and I like the idea, and I would love to see it happen, but I can tell you with confidence, I reckon it will never happen.
Yeah, I would bet money it would never happen.
A big part of that is, like, they already have three major competitions, the TGR Cup as well.
See, on that...
Yep.
On that, that's assuming that the Toyota Cup might have tuning enabled. It might be a tuning cup.
True. Yeah, like that's so true, and I worry about that as well. Hopefully, it's not for me. But as far as the tuning championship is concerned, I think it's a great idea, but it would never happen because then they'd have to include it in the world finals, and it'd be a whole nother level of production. And who's going to enter it? Like, what if it's a whole bunch of people who, we don't know? Or what if we end up with people like Hizal, Gallo, Miyazono, and they get someone who's a tuner, and they make them the tunes, and they race them, and they still qualify, and all that sort of thing. Like, it could end up that way,
What about, and again, this is probably never going to happen, but what if at the start of a season, so you've got your manufacturers, you get your nations, you get your tuning cup or whatever, what if you were only allowed to sign up for one championship?
Ooh, if you
were only allowed to contest one.
There you go.
That would be good.
Because
that would be really good, and then they could run them all on the same day like they used to.
Yeah. So, even the likes of Hazal and Fraga and Gallo and all them, they have to choose if they want to represent their manufacturer or if they want to represent their country. They can't do both, because then, like you say, you get the people that are smashing it out of the park. It effectively cuts the player base in half, and brings some of those guys that might just be sitting out of the realms of top split into that next level up. So, like I said, probably not going to happen, but could you imagine?
I think that's a good concept as well.
Certainly, yeah, very interesting there. There was another thing, I'll credit Tichney for this one. He came up with this idea. I guess it's sort of not 100% related to what we're talking about, but he kind of suggested an idea where maybe at the start of the championship season, you're given a certain number of entries. So say you have, like, the 3 championships or whatever, you can openly go into each, but you have 50 entries or 30 entries. So you can use 5 of those entries in one round.
Oh, I see.
Or you can use 0 and you save them up or whatever. And that way you can really pick and choose what you do.
That's a bit dangerous. Well, not dangerous, but then I suppose the question that has to be asked there is what happens if you enter a race, but then what happens if your race gets inexplicably ruined by disconnect or
that's just like real life, though, isn't it?
That's the risk of it. That is the risk of it.
Okay, fair enough.
What that would do is it would cut down the advantage of people who are available to do every single round.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, look,
which wouldn't be silly, to be fair.
It's definitely an interesting thing, but again, if and like in sport, how you had your star player sign up form before the start of the season, you register, my name's Atom, I live here and here's all my stuff. But if you did that, but it was you signing up for a series, here's my name, here's all of this sort of stuff, I would like to contest the manufacturer series, I would like to contest the Nations Cup, I would like to contest the Smokescreen 500, or that sort of thing, whatever other little championships or series they've got going. So that's it's definitely an interesting idea, and no doubt one
creative, absolutely creative.
No doubt one that would be met with polarized. There'll be people for and against.
They got enough things to fix without thinking of these sorts of ideas.
Atom mentioned just before that it would sort of reduce the effect of people that are available all the time to do all the slots. I think now would probably be a good time to share my experience with the test season just gone, because it basically is that. Essentially, like Nismo touched on it before, there's a race every day. If you have a job, you have responsibilities, you cannot practice for every combination, because you pretty much can only practice the day of the race, because if you go the previous day, you've got the previous combination there to sit and practice. So, like, I was often left, like, I'm at work all day, come home and the race is in an hour or whatever. There's no chance I can practice for that, and then also I have to be up for work the next day too, so I can't stay up late and do some of the later slots and get some practice in. So I was sort of just like, I'm not going to do it. The one round I could do was the Daytona Group 3 manufacturers race just gone. I happened to have a spare day and I was able to put in a bit of practice for it. I had work the next day and the first slot started at 9 PM for me, which I know isn't as bad as maybe the people over in New Zealand. You two.
No New Zealand time.
No, it's no New Zealand time, but if I'm weighing up what I can do based on the responsibilities I have, a 9 o'clock start time is quite late, but I thought I'll do it. We'll practice for it. Genesis X Group 3, quite a handful, requires quite a bit of practice, and I managed to find some good pace. I was happy with where I sat, and I was looking forward to the race. Got into the race, black screen before quali, lasted the full slot. So I think this circles back to a lot of the issues as well. So I was ready to qualify, got the black screen, and that black screen did not disappear, and I was like, I'll give it half an hour, I'll give it till 9:30, because I cannot justify sitting up late for a race that might start. So I was just like 9:30, it clicked to 9:30, I shut off the console, and that was it. So that was my entire test season. I couldn't do any other races, couldn't do any of the Nations Cup. I was obviously quite disappointed. So I think if they're going to focus on an issue to fix before the main season starts, it would be make sure the races can reliably start. I think that's the first thing.
Absolutely. And of course, we talked earlier about would you rather the polyphony focused on the balance of performance or the tuning? Obviously, superseding that is the ability to even race in the first place.
Yeah.
No point having a perfectly balanced field and cars that are within tenths of a second of each other if you can't even show up to the grid and race. And
Bob's not relevant at that point.
Yeah. I mean, I did the I can't remember if it was. I think it was the start of the season. Alsace, the test course, with those small hot hatches, and we qualified, and that was cool. And then it black screened for probably, I think it was like 15 minutes all up.
Jeez.
And it was just sitting there on the title splash, final event.
Okay. Yeah.
And we were just sitting there, and I was streaming at the time, so I'm just sitting there, and I'm talking to my watchers, and I'm like making jokes, sort of. And I even took my gloves off. That's right, because I took my gloves off, and I'm sitting there and going, okay, well, how long do we give this? Like, how long? When do you call it? Like you Smoke, when do you call it? When do you just go, okay, I'll cut my losses. But then about 15 minutes in, I heard the little like pre-race, that little like beat, that little beat, and I was like, oh crap! Like headset back on, gloves back on, and about 3 people had left, so there was like 8 cars on the grid, and had all been moved up. So third place was on second place, because obviously the guy there had been booted, and so on and so forth, and then the race carried on like as normal. And I think the really hard thing not the hard thing, but the thing to be considered with these random disconnects and stuff is that the points are all decided at the time of the lobby. So if 20 people get in, and then using the World Tour drivers, obviously, if Valerio Gallo gets booted and Mikael Hazal gets ejected as well before qualifying even starts, like it's still going to be a 400 and whatever point race, regardless of if they've all been booted, and it's just little old me left to putt around for 12 laps. So
and if they're going to run an official season like that,
absolutely.
I'm not saying it would probably necessarily be a bad thing for that slightly slower driver if they were able to just all of a sudden get some lifeline 400 points like you see in EMEA get handed out to them because the race messes up and the people that would normally take that get disconnected. But I think if you're running a championship and you're going on to live events or whatever they're going to do in GT7, they really kind of need the best drivers to actually be achieving what they can achieve.
I'd hate to be that guy that knows that you're fast enough, that knows that you've got the points, that you've got the skill set necessary, and then to lose out because your PlayStation doesn't want to actually load the race. Like, because I was tuned into our old mate TX3 GTR the night that you were doing that Daytona race.
GDR. Oh yeah, I was in there too. I was watching him.
And I said
that's where I went after the race didn't start.
And I said in his chat, I said, you imagine if we get to the live events, right? Live finals in Monaco, and Tom Brooks, Jimmy Broadbent, they're talking about, they're hyping up this final race. We're at Sardinia A, we're in the Red Bulls. It's the stage is set. It's going to be this epic showdown between Daniel Solis and Matthew McEwen or whatever, and then the game just black screens for like 40 minutes. Like, you imagine if that happens in that sort of scenario.
Yeah, it doesn't look good on them, does it?
No, it doesn't. So,
and for anybody watching now thinking, it's just the same as, a real life driver can think they're the best, they know they can win, but then they have a car failure or whatever. I think it's a bit different to that, because I think what this would be more akin to going to a race, knowing you're fast enough, knowing that you're able to achieve those 400 points, you've got the best tune, you can lap consistently, you get into the race, and then the entire race control system fails,
Yeah, the marshals are all having beers.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
what it's like, and you need to have the trust that when you're racing, that the race itself is going to function before you can even worry about whether you're fast enough, whether your car's going to fail or whatever.
Yeah. Using your real life example, if your steering wheel broke, I mean, that's obviously the equivalent of your car braking. But
I would say like your own Wi-Fi connectivity as well. That falls into there. Your Wi-Fi fails. It's the same as a tyre blowout. It happens.
But if it's something completely out of your control, it's 100% for certain on the game's end.
Yeah.
That's not
I think that's a big problem, and they need to fix that, and they've got a month to do it.
And
They've got a month to do it.
I don't think they can fix it, eh?
I don't think
they're
they
gonna
can
get it all
either.
fixed in time.
Not in a month.
They've painted themselves into a corner here with the announcement of the Gazoo Cup because it's like you say, now it's a
They
deadline.
got a deadline now, yeah.
Serious competition. Having said that, they're not beneath like delaying things. I mean, obviously we've seen it in the past, so
Yeah, no, of course.
If
I would
it's
say it's probably
really
less
so
likely to
bad.
happen with the Toyota Cup because of all sponsorship contracts and whatever. I think the okay thing about that Toyota Cup though is that I think a lot of it is going to be one make, or at least like I think there's a Subaru BRZ Toyota 86 combination, or
is there?
they're based. I think
There
there
is,
is.
yeah. There's a
I think
BRZ
there
in
is.
one of the rounds,
So you can race the Toyota Cup
Yeah.
and Subaru, but I think Toyota and Subaru are they're obviously in cahoots with one another, no doubt. So that's not so
They're the
bad.
same cars. They are the same cars.
Yeah.
They are.
What do we think of the new hypercar coming?
I can't
The
wait.
GR010.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. When I first saw the schedule, I thought the car was already in the game. I knew it was a new car when I saw it. I was like, oh, that's already in the game, surely, because I didn't bother to check. And then, I found out it's not.
Is that a
So that's
2021 vehicle? 2021 or 2020?
No, 2021 surely, because hypercars
2021?
have only been a thing for like a year and a
So,
bit.
is that going to be the newest car in Gran Turismo? Like the most modern?
No, you
Yeah.
got the Genesis, which is 2022.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Alright, you've convinced me.
Yeah, get convinced, mate.
Okay, so on that, obviously we now know that there's at least one new car on the way, right?
Yeah.
But
Suspicions of the BRZ 2020 coming as well, because of obviously that announcement.
Yep. So how do we feel then about receiving new content like that while we're still yet to, like, there are so many, I don't know how many exactly, but there are cars that haven't even appeared for sale in the game yet, like the Pennzoil Skyline or the Corvette Stingray racer concept, or that $20 million Mercedes. There are cars that we still haven't even seen yet, and they're already bringing out new content. Are we cool with that, or would we want to at least see a rotation of the full car list from launch?
Yeah, I think it's hard to argue with. I think they got to start bringing out new content because they promised it. As much as there's plenty of fixes that need to happen as well, I'm sure that bringing out the new content, it's probably already half baked, like it's already been prepared, so they just have to add it to the game and release an update that puts it in.
Yeah, that's true.
So I would say the content, they've promised it, they kind of have to deliver it, and I don't think it's a massive deal, but I agree with the sentiment that they gotta get their heads down and fix all these bugs and problems with the game.
Oh, look, I know for a fact that obviously maybe even all the cars full stop that are going to be coming to GT7 over its life are at least mostly in development now, because every time you see a new car get announced and there's all these people, oh, when's it coming to Gran Turismo, when's it coming to Forza or whatever, people just seem to think that a car can just be snapped into existence in the game, and it can be fully scanned and rendered and beautiful and all that, but I understand it takes years, months if not years to get them, but there are some cars that have been confirmed for Gran Turismo that haven't even come in, and we're talking from like the sport days.
Yeah,
So,
I think there's been a Lamborghini Espada in the works for years. That's been rumoured. Time Attack Civic, or
Yep. There was that little EG Civic that I think there's a couple of SEMA cars, that are still yet to come. So yeah, look, I get that they must have some sort of a roadmap of content update. Actually, here's an interesting one for you. So in Gran Turismo Sport, all the content updates were pretty. It was something for everyone. There was a new hypercar, there was a new race car, there was a new classic car. Yeah, every pack was pretty varied. Do we want to keep seeing that, or would we want to see sort of like themed packs? So an Australian car pack come out, or like a Lotus, if Lotus come back, which obviously is a very popular request from fans. Do they all come back in one big lump pack? Do we want to see themed, or do we want to keep it where there's a little something for everyone every month?
I would like for the most part to keep it varied, because it makes sure that everybody with that specific interest in a type of car is also refreshed with every update. Because if you're a classic car guy and you get 2 modern car pack themes in a row, they'll be slightly different or whatever, like a new Lotus pack or a new race car pack, and you're interested in classic cars, you got 2 months where you're dry. You might lose a little bit of the enthusiasm for the game. And, I think I've mentioned this before. I think if you're in the business of making a video game, your goal is to make sure you have the most number of people wanting to play as possible. So I would like to see a varied pack. That being said, your specific example of a Lotus pack, if that is something that might get added or whatever, even if they're doing the varied packs, if 1 month we have a Lotus pack, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, we've certainly seen it before in the likes of Gran Turismo 5, where they've done car pack DLC, where there's 5 brand new cars, like the I think one of them was the Lamborghini Aventador, the Aston V12 Vantage, the Volkswagen Sirocco. I think there was a few, but then they also did some packs that were themed. Like there was one which was the 86, the BRZ, and the Scion FRS, all in a nice little trio there.
Yeah. So
they've done both. They've done both with the focused or the varied. So it's but then that's assuming that obviously we're expecting a major content update in the not too distant future. Obviously with the announcement of the Toyota Gazoo.
Yeah.
So we
with the Toyota Gazoo Cup coming, do we think that we're going to see another test season between now and then? Because there's nearly a month.
Well,
half a month?
The first test season.
Yeah, what was mate, they can fit a 3-week schedule in with a race every day.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
they can fit a 21-round schedule in there, mate.
They could.
Was the delay between test season 1 and test season 2? There wasn't.
I think
it was like 2 or 3 days.
It was like 2 days. Yeah.
They were pretty onto it. So if there is going to be another test season,
we
might know about it. Yeah, we might know about it by the time this podcast comes out.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind if there's a dry spell.
Yeah, dude, I would very much.
Because I'm so far behind in the single player.
I just wish they would go back to let us actually play the game. And now that the Ferrari 330 P4 is in the game, people are actually starting to platinum Gran Turismo 7. So let us actually do everything the game has to offer. I mean, I myself, I've still got a lot of the 1 hour endurance races to get through.
Mate, I haven't done any of the missions. I haven't even done the missions.
Yeah, so
I've got all the missions, all the World Circuit races, the new endurance races. I've got heaps to do. I'm not saying I want to rush it. Yeah, circuit experience. I'm not saying I want to rush it, but I don't have time to do that. I don't even have time to do all of the online races where I'm in a championship, let alone do the stuff that doesn't sort of, count for anything.
Yeah, and
May is kind of when they start the official seasons traditionally. So I think they're hoping, because they probably want to run a World Finals this year, and they're probably hoping that they can get something underway so that they can get a selection of drivers to send to a live event. I think that'll be a big focus.
Thing to consider there would be, obviously, if the lobbies are still displaying the issues that we've touched on this evening, by the time we get to official stuff, I think there's going to be a lot more they basically can't afford any more negative press. So they would be very brave to do something like that. What they might do this year, if they really want to do a live event, is they might take some of the existing World Tour drivers and do sort of like an All-Stars thing, because Gran Turismo Sport was the same. They had they did a live event. I think it might have even been pre-release, which obviously it's a bit late for that now, but they did a live event. It was with Tom Brooks was doing commentary. They had Tidney and a couple of Japanese racing figures. What was the Formula One driver? Not Yamanaka.
I bet he wishes.
No. There was a guy. Anyway, there was a whole All-Stars type event, obviously promoting GT Sport, but they, especially with the World Tour drivers making such a prominent appearance, in the form of NPCs in this game, they might do some sort of All-Stars thing where they can, the people that have never played GT7 before and they've met the likes of, obviously Daniel in the license center and Psydog, sort of here and there, and there's all these NPCs that they've sort of met and gone, hey, that's a guy. If they did like an All-Stars event and you actually meet them and you actually see them competing, something like that might be pretty cool. But it's not a competition, it's just a, sort of a...
I agree with that idea, and it wouldn't be the first time that PD have taken a group of drivers who qualified for one live event and taken that exact group into the next one. Like, the Sydney World Tour in 2020 was made up entirely of drivers who qualified for the World Finals in 2019, for the Nations Cup and the Manufacturers Series. You qualified for the World Finals, you qualified for Sydney. I don't know when they announced that they were Sydney too, but I presume it was early enough. But what I wouldn't be surprised to see would be a small live event at the end of the year that takes only the finalists from the 2021 World Finals. So the grand finalists for the Nations Cup and obviously the grand finalists for the Manufacturers Series as well. I think that would be a possibility if they do go down that route and avoid an official season that is going to qualify people for that sort of event. But at the same time, I think it's more likely that they will run an all-new qualifying event, because there are some people who have completely thrown in the towel with GT7 as far as online is concerned. I haven't seen Yamanaka once in Asia Oceania Manufacturers Series. Miyazono may not have turned up either. There's very few people that are actually competing.
Yeah. Side note, it was Kobayashi who did the live.
Oh, Kobayashi, yeah.
Yeah, but like we said about with the demanding schedule and with obviously the game still being very much in its infancy, the likes of them might be waiting for something a bit more official, because obviously they race to win. They race to, for keeps basically. So doing that all day, every day must be draining. So if we can go back to the regular schedule where it was one manufacturers, one nations per week,
yes,
that would be very...
Please.
Hear us now, Polyphony, please. So
I'd expect them to defer more to the, I think it was the 2020 schedule where they had manufacturers and nations both on Wednesday night, or was it Tuesday night? And
I think it was,
Saturday night, and then you'd do your Nations Cup race, and then you'd jump in a manufacturer's slot, and you'd do your manufacturer's race, and then you could go back and do Nations again.
I want to see the Wednesday, Saturday manufacturers' nations, like Nismo says, but I also I think it's probably going to be more like that, because I think when I first started getting into what was then called FIA and GT Sport, it was like Tuesday, Wednesday was like Nations Cup on Tuesday, and then manufacturers on Wednesday, and then in the same week on the Saturday there was a Nations and a manufacturers. So there was 4 races a week across 3 days.
So that's what I think will most likely happen, and the reason I think that'll be the way it goes is because, and this is also why I think the test seasons will run this way, I think they're trying to give every single person who plays the game the opportunity to have a crack at one of these events or whatever. You run the slots over a long period of time and every day, then the casuals who are new to the game will have a chance to dip their toes in the water and have a go at it. And obviously it hurts the pros who have to slave over it for every single one, but there's so many people who will do no practice and who will jump in because they just want to go for a race. And that might be why they've condensed the schedule so much to make it not condensed it, but put so much on the calendar. You know what I mean?
That's what daily races are for, though. That's what the dailies are for. If you want to just jump in and do a race with no practice, do daily race A or B or whatever. So
I also think that the schedule is so tight because they want to collect as much data in as short amount of time as possible.
Yeah, I think that's the case for the test seasons.
I do think that is part of it. Obviously, they want to get like we touched on. The game launched. The game very clearly had problems. They've already had one big major, content fix.
An apology.
As far as stability goes.
An apology, yeah.
As far as stability goes, they've already, come a mile in comparison.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, they've kind of painted themselves into a corner, having announced the Toyota schedule the way they have. But that's not to say that maybe everything will just magically get fixed. We don't know
That
yet.
being said, there's been no confirmation that they're also going to run the manufacturers and nations on the date of
for sure.
That
the
is true.
Toyota Cup. But
That is
they
true.
have also, again, they have still painted themselves into a corner because they have to make sure the game functions properly for there to be an official Toyota Championship. I would say it's also particularly dangerous because if they run a Toyota Championship and the game doesn't work properly, I reckon that would also paint some negative light on Toyota.
Yeah, well, exactly. They
Toyota's paying a lot of money to these guys to make the game.
Yeah, well,
And I mean, I myself, I can go, oh, that's not Toyota's problem, and my image of Toyota can remain completely
Your point stands, though.
untarnished,
No,
but
exactly.
it still stands. There's going to be negative press. Toyota GR Cup, Gran Turismo Toyota GR Cup final fails or whatever. Technical glitch. Technical glitch.
Only 2 people showed up for the finals.
Stops Toyota.
Toyota
Cup
Gazoo
in
Racing
its
Cup
tracks.
is a disaster.
Yeah,
Who gets blamed for that?
Oh,
you don't want that. You don't
poor
want that.
Toyota.
I think the thing, and like when people talk about obviously the Nations Cup and the Manufacturer Series and all the, whether they race on the same night or whether they don't. Like personally, I normally only commit to one, so it doesn't bother me either way. If I'm doing the manufacturers, I'm doing the manufacturers. If I'm doing the nations, I'm just doing the nations. So that's just me. And again, I know there's a lot of people that do the same thing because obviously busy lives and lives outside of Gran Turismo. Like, funnily enough, guess what? I play some games that aren't Gran Turismo. So
Oh my god.
it's just
Oh my god.
there's
Get out of here, mate.
You're not
What
allowed
are
on
you
this
doing?
podcast anymore.
Alright, thanks everyone for listening. Sorry, see you later.
But my point is, like, obviously, I think if they ran them on the different days, I would be more open to trying the nations. But
Yeah.
if they do run them on the same days, it doesn't necessarily affect me. Like, I miss out on a couple of races I might not have done otherwise. So what? So it's definitely a point of. And there's also who was talking about? So with cars that you get provided for, like manufacturers, for example, do they suffer from like unrecoverable horsepower? Because I mean, obviously, like I think it takes about 10,000 kilometers for your cars to start irreversibly losing horsepower, which is a lot of mileage, and most of us are probably never going to get that far. But is that a thing that could potentially affect some of
I'm not sure if it'll affect online. Like, I don't know if it will affect online if BOP is enabled, for example.
Yeah, I would probably say that.
negate it.
I'd probably say that because what does a BOP do? It locks the horsepower, literally changes the horsepower of your car,
Locks the horsepower,
and the weight
yeah.
of your car, and locks it to a figure. So I would say, like, if your car has suffered a horsepower dip, it's probably just the BOP is probably just gonna lock it to the correct one.
But then, using that logic, do you then never need to change your car's oil, or that sort of thing?
I know what you mean.
If you're racing online, that's possibly true, yeah.
Because I know that in sport, obviously, there was no car maintenance. You bought a car,
And that was it.
all the tires
Yeah.
are free, everything's free. Like enjoy it, my son. That sort of thing. With 7, obviously, and there's a lot more emphasis on not so much car culture, but car care, I suppose. You buy your car, you hug it, you change its oil, you give it a new engine, you
wash it.
You wash it.
you give it the tender love and care that it deserves. But like, yeah, in a professional esports context, like there's probably people that wash their cars, change their oil, restore their engine after like every single practice session, because they lost like 0.001% of an HP.
Possible.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if anyone's officially tested it yet, but somebody needs to before the official season, that's for sure.
just spend like $1 million on maintenance. Just why'd you do that? I'm too.
I mean more like run a car into the ground before a combination and see how it does. See if there's any changes.
I might actually look at that too, because that is a.
You can blow an engine, can't you?
Can you? I didn't know.
I don't know
that.
about blow an engine.
I've heard,
I mean, yeah. What happens if all of your cars?
like if your oil becomes
Conditions.
bad, really, because I've never let my oil go below normal. But I don't know what the stages are. But I presume
I see the
there's
yellow. I see the yellow and I
Yeah.
freak out. So
yeah. I presume below normal there's poor and then there's like a terrible one. That's like the worst.
Okay.
And how long can you drive the car with terrible condition oil before you blow an engine. In real life, you'd be driving it. Well, if you drove with no oil, it only takes you 5 minutes. But if you drive with terrible oil, you can still send a rod through the block in a passenger car, just driving on the road normally.
I can't see it being a thing in Gran Turismo because, and again, someone somewhere has probably already done it. So, but I pretty
Someone's
sure
done it. There'd be a video, which is why I'm like,
surely,
is it a clear thing?
I'm pretty sure the oil is basically just a loss of HP, and then but like you say, the question stands: if you have terrible oil and you enter a BOP race, do you get
your horsepower back?
Do you get your horsepower back?
Is your oil perfect? Because
that's a good.
Also,
question.
is it like a dynamic scale, or does it happen in steps?
Yes, it is I think it's every 300 kilometers your oil goes down a grade until it gets to whatever bottom minimum it does.
But I mean, like, is there a difference between having the oil just dipped into the normal, like you've done 1k over the threshold that puts you into normal, and then like a difference between that and then 1k before the threshold to the next?
No, I think
you know what I mean?
I think it's fixed.
Like, is it just as
soon as along the entire parameter of normal, you have the same horsepower. That's possibly true.
As soon as you tick over, it just magically drops 5 horsepower or however much it. I've never actually looked. It's probably someone on like GT Planet's already got like some comprehensive graph of oil
out there.
Yeah, but like I said, and again, oil changes aren't expensive, so just change your damn oil. But like, it's one of those things that it's good.
The other thing is, if you sit there banging your car off the limiter for 20 minutes, but you don't do any mileage, surely your oil should go down, or should be,
Hey,
interesting.
If you want to spend 20 minutes limiter bashing your car for science.
Off you go, mate. You
might have to try it for science. I don't know.
20 Celicas in your garage. One.
No. What you do is you do just that, and then you make this like clickbaity YouTube video. And you're like, "What happens if I limiter bash my car for 20 minutes?"
I sat on limiter for an hour. You won't believe the results. You know what? That's a great idea.
Shocked, gone sexual.
That's how you get subs, Smoke.
I know that's how I get subs. Gone wrong.
With
the shocked YouTuber
Kaz
face.
Was called.
I know that's how you get
remember with
subscribers.
Kaz on speed dial. Oh my goodness. We shouldn't be talking about this on a podcast. Someone's going to steal our idea.
Okay, what else do we wanting to talk about the GT7 then?
Well, we're sort of talking about car performance. PP system. Was the PP system necessary? I think Nismo, you flagged this one.
Thumbs down from me.
Was it necessary? I don't think it was either.
I think, it's kind of twofold because Gran Turismo Sport obviously didn't have a PP system, right?
No.
But what it did have was the N-Class system. And I think that's probably where the PP system is unnecessary. Like, if we were to get rid of the PP system, we would have to obviously bring back the N-Class system, but then what that does is that begs the question of where do all the Group X, the cars that would have been Group X, where do they fit into the picture? Because obviously there's road cars, there's race cars, there's like hypercars, there's just such a broad variety. So yeah, it's interesting, but then obviously when you have people like, obviously it's pretty well known at the moment, the Tomahawk, you can get it under 600 pp, which obviously you shouldn't be able to do that, but I think the fact that people are using it in a good way, like they're using it to grind credits, not like grief other people or fix the results of any like world championship race. So I wouldn't mind seeing a Tomahawk FIA race just quietly. Could you imagine?
There was, it was the Group 1 Tomahawk that was used, but there was a top 16 Superstars race that was a Group 1 around like Kyoto or something, and the Tomahawk was actually used in it. But as far as the PP system goes, I think the PP system it could be good, but because there's so many flaws with it, like you can send your PP from 650 to 705 by adjusting your power output by 1%. In some cars. And that don't make no sense.
It doesn't even make sense.
And there's the people are finding bugs. I saw it today where they're getting I think it might have been a Tomahawk or it might have been something else. It was something stupid fast with 1,000 horsepower, and it was 150 pp. and
What?
it was they'd done like a transmission bug or something like that had got the PP down stupid low. And
okay.
now I don't like that the transmission, as you tune the transmission, it adjusts the PP, because I see that and the first thing I think is someone's going to be able to find a way to give yourself an awesome transmission but make the game think you've got the worst transmission. The PP is super low but your transmission is amazing, and you can then bump up your power by heaps because the game doesn't realize you're actually going to be stupid fast. I think it needs some work, but the PP system could be effective if they got it right.
I think
that's circling back to the whole tuning thing. Like,
I
think all three of us sort of are resonating with. We wouldn't care if tuning was just deleted, sort of thing. So, I think that's circling back to that.
In the early game,
but it's still definitely a problem.
Yeah, in the early to mid game. I mean, I presume all of you guys had the Castrol Supra and the Porsche and all that to start your game. You guys get the anniversary one?
Oh, yeah.
So in the early to mid game, it's certainly very balanced. Like, I obviously played through the menu books, and Smoke, I don't know if you finished it yet, because you were last we talked, you hadn't finished all of them just yet. But
I have.
As far as those, the menu book races and stuff, I found them actually very balanced, and I actually quite enjoyed.
Yeah.
I wasn't thwomping everybody, and to be fair, I kind of refrained from using the Porsche and I never used the RX Vision. I used the Castrol Supra like once, and then I think the Porsche I used it for more events. But most of the game it was very, very balanced, and the races were, they were good. But then obviously now that we're looking for more serious racing and the World Touring Car, those events that pay out like 800 grand and all that. The ability to sort of, like you say, nerf your gearbox and do that sort of thing. It would be better if it was like, for example, the 1979 endurance race, I used the Chaparral because I was able to bring the gears right back, and it tapped out at like 170 k's or something, but because I could keep that speed consistent, I wasn't the fastest car on the track, but the cornering speed was there, so that sort of balanced it out.
Right.
I agree with I can sort of understand how the PP system works as far as the tyres. So, like, you see some people use a lower grade of tyre, but because they have more PP at their disposal, they could put it into power or weight. That sort of thing I can sort of understand, but because I think the thing to remember is that tuning is completely separate from balance of performance. Balance of performance is its own thing, right?
Yeah.
You can't do as far as I'm aware, you can't do a balance of performance race and have tuning. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you.
I don't think you can. I haven't seen it.
You can.
Okay.
What you can do in lobbies, you can do bop on and then tuning on or off. It's the same as sport.
Or if you do, but if you do bop with tuning on, then at least it's not going to it's not going to freak out if you change your ride height by like 2 mil or whatever.
No.
So, that much is okay, but then tuning itself, obviously, I think at the moment, because it's not affecting any online racing, obviously people are using the Tomahawk to grind money at Tokyo and Le Mans. I can be okay with that, because obviously I do it myself. I'd be a bit of a hypocrite if I was like, no, don't do that. But then when the minute that you see someone use a Tomahawk in a daily race or in a FIA race, that's when we'll have problems.
It will happen. If it becomes possible, it will happen. And I think a lot of people look at people doing stuff like that, like exploiting wall rides or exploiting this or exploiting getting a stupid fast car into a race like that. They look at that and go, oh, he's cheating, oh, terrible person. I look at it and I go, good, he's exposed it. PD can now learn of it.
It's going to get patched. I don't know if you guys remember, at Goodwood there was a bug or not so much a bug, but you could basically cut that last chicane.
Yeah, I remember that.
You could ride the curbs in such a way that you would get penalised, but you wouldn't get penalised before the line, so the lap was valid.
I think there was also it might be what you're referring to, but you could go onto the grass before the chicane and completely miss that first
that's what
part
I'm saying.
Of the Goodwood. You could go to the right hand side of that first wall.
And that's what they did. And then I think it was literally later that week, Gran Turismo pushed out an update where they chucked in a wall there, so that they've already,
They've done that at Daytona. Pretty early as well. I think they've now adjusted the track limits though. I think the track limits are much stricter. They've taken the walls away.
But only on 3 of the apexes on that chicane, not all 4.
Yeah, the walls are always going to be a temporary fix. Like as soon as something like that comes to light, obviously they're not going to be able to fix it straight away. So the thing to do straight away is a physical wall there.
Yeah, it's probably easier to code the wall in.
Yeah. And then while that's there, they can work on, obviously, okay, these limits need to be adjusted and do all their stuff. And then a couple days...
Just make it the white line everywhere.
A couple days later...
every track at every corner.
Don't be the voice of reason, Smock. No one listens to that.
People at Polyphony are getting paid grotesque amounts of money to do this job, mate. Don't do it for them for free.
Get me hired, then. Get me hired.
Someone give Smock the job.
I'll take it.
R4M Smock becomes PDI Smock. Wait a minute.
Oh, look out. Don't you give me ideas, mate. Breaking news. Local YouTuber kills Kaz. What?
What? Hey, hang on a minute.
Whoa.
Hang on a minute. Okay, that went from a 2 to a 10 pretty quick.
No, I was looking at exploits, and I forgot to go figure it out, but I found what I thought might be an exploit at Fuji. At one of the corners, you could run wide on the exit and get yourself a massive run, and you wouldn't get a penalty. But I forgot to go test it and confirm it. I may need to go do that again. But if anyone out there who's watching this has found a bug or something that makes you go faster that's an exploit, make sure you record it and you publish it so that it can
put it on Twitter, put it on Instagram.
Do the right thing, mate. And a lot of people
use it now, abuse it, but publicize it and make them know about it.
Yeah, and like you said, Atom, the people that see that sort of stuff and go, oh, they're terrible drivers, they're, what if they're just trying to bring it to light? They're just saying,
I think they are.
You can do this, and
100%.
So, sorry, I'm just still trying to work out how we went from like fixing the track limits to literally murdering Kaz.
That was a 0 to 100. Smock, you got to talk to us about this off podcast.
It's all a joke. I'm only kidding. I could become Gran Turismo.
Silly me, accidentally murdered a million.
Just kidding. Call off the sniper. The next day
I was only kidding.
For legal reasons, that's a joke. So
it was just to open up the possibility of me becoming the Gran Turismo director. That's all. That's all it is. That's all the joke was. Not actually going to happen. It's going to look really bad.
This podcast isn't going to last long.
Smoke just gets an email. Smoke just gets an email from Sony. Like, bro, what the hell?
Cease and desist comes straight in. No, yep.
Okay,
good. I'm sure they're watching.
I hope they're watching.
I hope they're watching, because that would be really awesome if Sony was watching our own podcast.
Anyway.
Moving swiftly on.
We're going to move swiftly onwards. So, yeah, I think conclusion was the PP system necessary. It depends.
It's just a very
political answer.
At the moment,
yeah.
We'd be good politicians.
Let's talk now about the economy. Is all forgiven? All is forgiven? Atom, you did all the circuit experiences pre-update, didn't you? Most of them. So how did it feel getting your $40 million stimulus from
47.5 million?
No, I need the exact figure, mate.
From working income NZ. Thanks, guys. For sitting at home all day and playing games.
Did you pay tax on that, mate?
No taxes.
Inland revenue at your door, mate? Or
Honestly, I know it's a one-off pay. I think it's a bit much, though. I think it's too much to get paid. I know it doesn't necessarily buy you a lot. It doesn't go too far. You buy 20 million credit cars and it's gone. But you can't get 5 million for golding the Nürburgring. You can't get 5 million.
It is pretty difficult. It's a full, I think it's 20
It's difficult, yes, but give me 3 million, 3 million's got to be a much more realistic number. But none of them came close. The highest paying one beside that, I think, was 1 million.
No, Fisherman's Ranch was 2 million.
Fisherman's Ranch.
Oh, it was 2 million? Okay.
Because I have actually done that one because I wanted to get a quick bit of money.
I'm surprised that Le Mans is only 1 mil. I'll be honest. If there was ever a track that deserved to be more than 1 million, it should have been Le Mans. But
I thought that was weird as well. My reasoning behind that is that half the track is straights.
Oh yeah, but it's not. Like that's like saying that, you know.
As far as the monetary thing goes, though, I think it put my mind to rest about whether I'd be able to afford cars to race with in the online series when they come about. You know, and I can buy cars now pretty much completely without worrying about money whatsoever.
So
I mean, we're sort of...
You haven't bought the Alpha and the Ferrari then, the 220?
No, I don't buy the classic cars that are worth stupid money, but I bought the 3 Group Cs because I think they're essential. And they will probably get used in races and they'll be the meta somewhere. So I need them. But everything else, I don't think it's a biggie. So
I'm buying all the ones that I can just because, like Nations Cup, right? What happens if they do a race where it's a one make, and it just so happens to be that one car that you don't have yet? Because it's just one of those things. If you at least have one of every car, then there's nothing to worry about in that regard. So it's
affording that is difficult though. Affording that is going to be very difficult. But also, so money wise, how much do you get for the 1 hour enduros?
You get 1.2 million if you win the race, but it's a one-time payment.
Yeah, one-time.
It's a mission.
So there's what's that? 10 million in that?
You're better off.
8 million, 9 million.
8 million. Oh, 8.
9.5.
9 and something. But you get more. You're better off just to do the Tokyo one because it's like 20 minutes. You know, if 20 minutes if you're really bad. I think Mr. MCA is down to like a 16-minute. Might even do sub 16-minute. But that's like maximum speed, no penalties. You know, I've just been sort of cruising it, and I get a couple of penalties here and there. We're sort of talking maybe 17 to 18 minutes, depending on how many penalties. So, but you get 800k for that. So per hour,
I haven't heard about this.
Per hour, you're looking at about 2 point something mil. So
I think there does need to be a way to grind credits like that, and even if it's only just that one race, I think it does need to exist because there are going to be people that just go, I bought Gran Turismo, I bought the console so I could drive that Alfa Romeo Touring, whatever that big grand $20 million car is. There needs to be a way so that you can get that if you want to. You know, it's not
even if you're not that good
platter.
too, because a lot of people are struggling to achieve the circuit experience, which I like. I like the fact that it's difficult. I think it needs to be difficult, as do the missions, but there's got to be a way for people to grind no matter how good you are.
To be fair, I don't mind that the circuit experience is hard because it's better than them. Like if they did another Lewis Hamilton DLC where it was stinking fast lap times from the likes of, like, I paid $12 to learn that Lewis Hamilton's a better driver than me, basically. But for the circuit experience, you don't have to, you know, it's not a paid DLC.
No.
And so the people that like that sort of challenge don't have to buy an expansion to have that sort of challenge.
Yeah.
I can respect it. And it's not critical to the gameplay. You know, it's not critical to like the platinum or anything. You only need to I think you only need to gold 15 of the circuit experiences for the platinum trophy, and most of them can be like, I mean, obviously Tsukuba, Northern Isle, Blue Moon Bay.
Blue Moon Bay, the oval.
Yeah. Yeah.
That cracks me up.
You can literally gold 15 tracks, not too hard, and then once you've done 15, you know, you're on the road to platinum anyway. So I don't mind it, you know. And then like I said, if there's those people out there that like the extra challenge and they want to do Le Mans and Nürburgring, I've been told that Le Mans is actually one of the harder ones. I haven't personally done it yet because I've just, again, so busy. But apparently Le Mans is very slippery.
It was bugged for a while. It was bugged for a while, but I believe they fixed it. So
were you driving the Peugeot?
Peugeot, yep. The Peugeot.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that.
The Fatmobile.
So me.
That car, it basically, if you turned into the Porsche curves, the back end would go. No matter how fast you were going, no matter how little you turned in, the back end would just go. You couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So has that been fixed? Has that?
That has been fixed. It is still fairly difficult, though, I think.
Yeah. Because again, most of the people that were complaining, you know, it was obviously at launch. So Yeah, I can respect that. Okay, so
Well, it was funny you say that. It was good, and then it got bugged when the tire changes came in. You know how they put like the street tires on the dirt cars. That's when it was bugged, and then they fixed it after that.
Yeah.
So I think the short answer is yes. Yeah, all is forgiven. Read the economy.
Economy.
I think my opinion on what they needed to do is it's okay that they sort of went down the route. They nerfed everything, but then they're like, oh no, we are gonna fix it again. Don't really know why you would spend the effort to nerf it and then put it all back to normal or fix it. But anyway, I think what they needed to do is release that statement that they gave us after they nerfed everything and the whole community was up in arms. They needed to release that statement before the update and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is just a courtesy to let you know. And then there would have been much less negative press. People would have complained, that's for sure. But there would have been much less negative press, less news articles basically just slating the Gran Turismo franchise because of it. You know, they could have done exactly what they did except release the statement before the first update. That's all they needed to do, and I reckon it would have been all okay.
Yeah. I feel like when you've got, I mean, you're saying, you know, you're not sure why they would nerf it and then you know, do it back, but like when you've got I don't know how active on social media you guys are, but like everywhere you looked there was articles from every single site and every single like YouTuber was making stuff about it, and like even GT Planet, which is obviously a site so Gran Turismo affiliated that it's in the name, you know, had content about it. So I think
negative content about it too, right?
Yeah, critical content, and like we touched on in the previous one, if they hadn't, you know, made the announcement, and if they just sort of folded their arms and gone, well, that's the direction we're going with the game, deal with it, I think we'd be looking at the death of Gran Turismo as a franchise and as a you know what it is now. So I think
they realised that too.
I definitely think this is the right, like I said, I'm not fussed about the realistic prices and about cars costing what they would in the real life. As long as we have the option of, you know, as long as the credit grinding is competitive in comparison. So I think what they've done is a very good step in the right direction. And again, more content is planned for the future, more of everything. So there's going to be more races, more missions, more, you know, all that sort of thing.
More stuff. Well, what do you guys think? So as far as the monetary changes, they've increased the payouts. They've added payouts to the circuit experience, and they've added more missions, which are worth more money. The other major thing that they changed was they increased your credit limit from 20 million to 100 million. Now, I couldn't believe when I heard that. I hadn't hit the credit cap. I think I had like 3.5 million at most at one point. The credit cap was 20 million, and there were cars worth 20 million. And when I realised that the cap was 20 million, when they said we're increasing it from 20 to 100, I was like, how could they possibly think that was a good idea to have a 20 million credit cap, and you have to buy 20 million credit cars, which means you're going to earn more than you actually have. Like, your last race, you're going to earn more credits than what you actually receive, because you're going to hit that cap and you're going to not receive all of it in the first place.
It was the same in GT Sport, you know, unless you beat the Lewis Hamilton DLC, it was exactly the same.
Yeah, so, the money was there though, and the cars weren't. The cars were all available all the time as well. You had to, in this game, you have to go get the car when it's available. Like, imagine you just bought a 20 million credit car, and then a 20 million credit car comes up that you want way more than the one that you just bought and that you would have preferred to buy if they'd both been available at the same time. You're not getting that 20 million credits back in time, or you weren't at that point.
Also, and then imagine if you have the car come up that you want, you spend all of the time it's in the legend cars earning 20 million, but you don't quite get there in time.
Yeah.
But then you want to save it or whatever for the next time it comes up. You're sitting at the credit cap, just losing any credits that you then gain. So I think they made the right decision to increase it.
I think
I don't think they should have a limit. Why 100 million?
Yeah, it's
have
exactly
no limit.
what I was. Literally took the words out of my mouth. Should there be a limit?
The interesting thing too is that it's only a limit for the free. So once you hit that 100 million credit cap, you can still have more credits. You just have to pay for them. And it was the same with the $20 million cap.
Wait, say that again?
So you've got your credits, right?
Yeah.
you can earn 20 million free credits. So those are the credits that you've earned. Once you hit that credit cap, the only way you can get more credits is to buy them, because it has, if you look at your balance details on the thing, you've got your free credits and then you've got your paid credits. And
Right.
a lot of people were getting this confused because, like, I mean, I even had it myself. I took a screenshot of my credit balance, and because I pre-ordered the game, I started with like $1 million.
Would have been 1 million.
No, because like I got the 25th anniversary and the pre-order, so it was like 1.5 million or something.
Okay.
But because it was DLC, technically DLC money, it was under paid credit. So people are going, "Oh, why are you buying microtransactions?" But so I could max out my credit count, and I would have $101.5 million.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, right. That's interesting. Yeah, but why does there need to be a cap?
No, look, I agree. Why does it have to be a limit? I mean,
it's probably to prevent modders of some kind from creating some unlimited credit bug.
yeah.
Right,
Or
okay.
mod or something like that.
That's probably...
I would say that's probably
actually a
why.
very good point.
But
That's a very good
stuff
point.
like-
I'm sure there's got to be other workarounds than a limit, right?
Yeah.
A hard limit.
Stuff like Grand Theft Auto, I believe, doesn't have a credit cap, and obviously you see what sort of, you see modders,
Yeah.
you see hackers, and all that sort of stuff. Not saying that we'd start getting flying motorbikes blowing up cars in Gran Turismo, but like you say, there has
That's
to be.
it. Refunding the game.
Personally, I don't care.
That's all I wanted.
Now that the credit cap's 100 million, I don't really care, because I'm never going to have. I don't think I'm ever going to
100
have.
million is enough.
That's a lot.
But it will be annoying
That is
if
a
you
lot.
get to that cap and 20 million credit cards come up that you want, and then you have $0 left.
I think, I think the most credits I've ever had, like even post credit cap lift, is like 23 million. So I've
had 50. Hey,
I'm probably going to blow all my money, in some way, shape, or form.
It is. It's pretty easy too.
I do like to keep a buffer in case a good car. Like at the moment, I think it's like $4.5 million, and I'm aware that obviously there are still cars left in the dealership that I would like to buy, like the Pennzoil Skyline. So I like to have enough money that if something comes up, I can just nab it straight away without having to grind. But also, like realistically, I'm not going to really... I think my credit balance is probably going to float around the sort of $25 million mark, realistically.
I reckon someone needs to take the last 2 minutes of this podcast out of context and just label it Nismonath talks about being a millionaire. Because it honestly sounded like you were talking about real life, and how you have so much money and there's cars that you want at the dealership and stuff. That would sound so funny out of context.
Bro, could you imagine? Like, ring up a dealership.
Maybe that should be the first clip.
Ring up a dealership. Like, hey,
if we start doing clips, that's got to be one of them.
Have you got that like mint 1989 R32? Yeah, I'll buy that. What's the price?
Just casually talking about buying a Pennzoil Skyline as well. Imagine taking that out of context. Wow.
Hey, hold on. Hey, has that mint Celica GT4 surprise birthday present arrived yet? Oh,
you're buying me a gift. A gift with your millions.
Not anymore, nah. Send it to Smoke instead.
No, we're only in-game rich. We're only in-game rich. No, he only wants a DeLorean.
Oh, that's right.
Please.
Yeah, sorry.
Please.
If you're lucky, it might come with some cocaine. What?
Oh,
Hey?
time machine in the back. Time machine in the back. Come on.
What were we talking about?
I don't know, man. We're talking about the money.
Game economy.
The money.
That's it.
Okay, so here's just looking at the little list of
Show me the money.
prompts and stuff that we got. So we kind of touched on this with the new Toyota coming to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Our predictions for the first major content drop.
I reckon a new track.
Okay, what's the new
I
track?
think we'll see one car and one track, yeah.
Yeah.
Has Apricot Hill been teased?
Apricot Hill has been teased, and it has not
Yeah,
been.
I reckon it'll probably be that. Because have any other tracks been teased?
I don't know. I'll tell you
Yeah,
what,
I don't think so.
There's definitely a track coming. If it's not in the first update, it will be in another one before the end of the TGR Cup, because the last round is in the Yaris at a to-be-decided track. Guarantee it's a new track.
Yeah, because did they do the same thing in GT Sport?
They
I feel
did.
like they did.
But it was because the GR86 was coming.
That's it, yeah.
And
I remember that
I don't
now.
think they'd announced
It hadn't been added, yeah.
So what about?
What I'm surprised by is they haven't added the GR Corolla to the list of GR cars.
Well,
in the
yeah,
series.
yeah.
So that was obviously announced very recently.
that's only just been announced. Yeah,
But
so
I'd say because the GR86 was in GT Sport before the GR86 was available for purchase in real life.
yeah.
Oh, it's
So,
like the
well, they go the
new
same
Nissan
way.
Z.
Yep,
It's like the new
true.
Nissan Z. It's not on sale yet, but you can drive it in Gran Turismo.
Yep.
I would like to see. Obviously, I would like to hope that we get more than just the Toyota, the new hypercar. Like we were saying about content being varied. You know, maybe
Yeah.
it would be. In fact, there was a guy on Twitter who posted a big thing of every single premium car that was in Gran Turismo 6 that is still yet to make the jump over to Gran Turismo 7. And there's a fair few models in there, like the BMW 1 Series and the Aston Martin. I think Aston DB9. I don't think that's in GT7 yet. Just models like that are more likely candidates because obviously they are already in the franchise. They've already been.
Yeah.
They are
As far as potential content goes, if we assume that the first car to come to the game is going to be this GR010, if it's not Apricot Hill like you guys are saying that comes out with the car, I wouldn't be surprised if there's an update and it's one new car, one new track. If they were going to do the GR010, there's a good chance if they're not bringing back something like Apricot Hill that they'll bring a track that's not in the game already that's significant to the GR010. For example, the first track that it's got a win at, or the track where it took its championship, anything like that. I don't know, but
Let me look it up for you.
Yeah, that'd be quite handy information to have. I should have practiced ahead of time.
I feel like it's.
Well, no, that's the thing about this scriptless
scriptless
podcast.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea and potentially a way that they'll go. It's not
certainly be a stretch to just
possibly
a new track like that though, because I mean,
see, I would even be okay if the first update, because I think we're assuming that we're definitely going to have the GR010 for the championship. I would be okay if that was the first content drop and it was only the car, and then maybe a little bit later down the line they get into the full content drops, with. Because in GT Sport, what we having like
GT Sport,
15 cars getting added?
Yeah, we were getting about
in the early
10 cars a month and maybe like a track a month. So that was.
Were we getting cars and a track, or was it either cars or a track?
It depended. I
don't remember.
There was some where it was both. There was some where it was either or. So it's. But again, I think it's easy to forget just how good we had it in GT Sport because obviously most of us, I'm pretty sure all of us here were sort of latter life GT Sport rather than
we were all three of us were late life GT Sport drivers.
So and all you need to do is hop on YouTube and have a look at all the trailers because I think one of them was, like you said, Smoke, like 15 cars all up. So it was and they were really varied too. Like there was the Supra, the Supra that everyone was keen on, and then there was like the XJ13 and the Peugeot, and there was all these different.
They released quite a lot of stuff in sync with the World Tours. I think the Jaguar VGT was one, Sardinia was one, Laguna Seca at the 2019 World Finals was one, the DBR9 as well. That was also released.
Was a very big one
at a World Tour. I wouldn't be surprised if they go down that route again. But
something else
I like seeing that too. I like tuning into the World Tour and just all of a sudden seeing brand new content. Like, you get excited for that. Gives you something to look forward to.
Sorry, something else I've just remembered that obviously we haven't seen yet, but Kaz used to do the tweets with the silhouettes.
Yeah.
So I feel like he would probably get back into doing that if we,
I hope so.
Maybe in
the next. That trick can work more than once though. Because we've obviously seen it, but now if they bring it back, it's less of a surprise. Doing it that style.
Obviously, just for the one car is a bit pointless. But if it's an update where, I'm just trying to find an image to show as an example. See, here. Let me see if I can do the dweeb thing and actually.
While he's finding that, I've found the stats on the Toyota GR010.
Okay.
So the first win was actually at Spa, which we already have.
Yeah.
The second win, which is at a track that's currently not in Gran Turismo, looks like Portugal, I think. Portimao.
Okay.
And then if we're looking at maybe the track that it took the championship at, it's sort of hard to tell.
That's Le Mans, isn't it?
I don't know. Well, it's sort of hard to tell because they won. I think they ran 2 cars in the championship. I think World Endurance Championship. They ran 2 cars, and out of every round of the first championship year, either one of the cars won the race. So I don't know which track it would have taken the championship at, but the last track that it took a win at is Bahrain.
Okay.
Oh, Bahrain, yes.
So out of the 6 rounds, they did 5 tracks for their first championship year, which is 2021. This is for the GR010. It was Spa, Portugal, Monza, Le Mans, and then 2 races at Bahrain.
Okay. Bahrain, I certainly wouldn't mind, because
I wouldn't mind Bahrain either,
I
actually.
think something that would also be very helpful, well, not helpful, but good for the franchise is tracks that have multiple layouts. I mean, obviously Bahrain has its outer loop, which was brought to fame with the Formula One.
Mm-hmm. They'd be silly to add Bahrain and not add the outer loop as well.
Basically just free content. But see, getting back to this whole
Free
thing,
real estate.
I mean, if you look at that there,
Oh, how good.
see, I mean, we now know that this is the Mercedes SLR, the 2019 Supra, and the 1999 S2000. But if you do if Kaz does a post like that, and he's got, like obviously we know the GR010, obviously it's coming, it's been announced, but if it was one of those silhouettes and there's 5 cars there, like you think about the amount of discussion that would foster with people guessing what the cars are and taking.
I think what they should do, it's almost like those silhouettes almost had like that was like rendered in a 3D environment. The light source sort of came sort of on top of the car. You could sort of see the line sort of reflected up the side of the car. You could see sort of kind of the windscreen profile as it was like showed to you at a 3D angle. My camera doesn't really show what I'm doing with my hands. Yeah, I'm just
getting close.
Get me to 500 subs, mate, then I can just show you everything. What they should do, place the car directly, like you're looking directly at the side of the car and just have the back lit, so it's literally just showing the outline shape, like I'm doing with my camera.
Yeah, pretty much.
I reckon they should do that because what I've found with the silhouettes is that Kaz would release the photo, and then within half an hour, there were people that have identified all the cars, and they were correct most of the time.
But it's not about the.
It's not about making it hard to guess, though.
It's not about making it hard to guess them. It's like I said, it's about the discussion that it fosters because you have people like.
Just getting people talking.
Using that S2000, right, for example, someone says, oh, it's an S2000. Well, clearly it is. But then you have all the what model is it? What year is it? What specific...
True, yeah.
People getting really into the nitty-gritties, and especially with vehicles like... I'm trying to think something that's not in the game, like an Evo 7, for example. There'll be people arguing that it's an Evo 7. There'll be people arguing that it's an Evo 7
or 9.
version 2 or an Evo... that whole discussion that it fosters, and it's not so much, like I said, he's not trying to make it hard for us to guess, he's just announcing it without announcing it, and I think it was really effective. I really quite enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, I loved the idea.
So, and
it was,
you got to remember,
it was great.
When we were getting updates of like 10 cars or more, I mean, how much more so, more discussion would you have if you had 10 of that? Was 3 silhouettes, what about 10 of them? So,
or 15.
Yeah. It's certainly...
Well, I hope we do see something like that. Even if this first one is just the GR010 so that they can do this Toyota Cup.
Absolutely.
That's okay.
It'll be a good addition.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Okay, what else
1?
do we... Hey?
Will it be Group 1?
Oh, undoubtedly.
I'd put money on that. It'd be yes. Where else would it be?
Not Group 1.
Yeah. It's a hybrid Le Mans car. It's kind of got to go into Group 1, doesn't it?
It would be. I reckon it'd be Group 1.
The hard thing is, do you bop it to be better than the TSO50 and the TSO30?
Yeah. Hey, look, questions that we'll all answer, in due course. And it's exciting, at least, because we're getting back. Obviously, towards the end of GT Sports Life, we had no content, so now we're actually seeing a game evolve from its conception, basically. It's
For a 5-year-old game on GT Sport, we had a remarkably large amount of contact in the final years. with the GR Yaris, the
Yeah.
GR86, the GR Supra.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, there are a lot of devs.
A lot of
coming
GR.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, to
GR.
be fair, yeah, but when they're paying the big bucks, I mean, you would
Yeah.
expect that.
Yeah.
So,
Gotta
I'm
keep
not
people's
complaining. I
eyes
like
on.
Toyota.
Yep.
I mean, you got to remember that PD still has the license to Formula E and the license to Pikes Peak, so that's two very different, very never before seen categories of racing that we.
They surely need to have Pikes Peak. They surely need to add that at some stage. You can't race it on any other game because they have the license.
I think the thing with Pikes Peak though is it's the only. I'm just thinking this through. Yes, it's the only. It would be the only course that's not a circuit, that it's a point to point.
Yeah.
So how would you
true.
GT's
okay.
not about that at all.
say that they do a Nations Cup race there, Group B? Like, how are they going to do it? Is it 10, 15 guys?
They wouldn't be able to. They'd have to make it an offline.
It would have to be a time trial thing.
You couldn't use it for that.
Why wouldn't you be able to use it?
Because Pikes Peak isn't run as a race; it's run as a time attack.
It's like a rally.
Right. Okay.
You don't race other
I
cars.
suppose.
They could do it like like they did with the Olympic Virtual Series, just do a time trial like that.
Yeah, I think the online time trials are coming back. It was in that media statement.
They will eventually, yeah.
They will.
So I would say they will, and Pikes Peak would be perfect for that.
It would be ideal.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Pikes Peak would end up being a one-trick pony, although I'm sure that a lot of people would be very interested in making use of it, even offline.
Oh, dude, there's, like you say, no other rally game can have it at the moment, so as soon as they implement it, and that's presuming that they don't include some cars, because you might see, dude, can you imagine if the Escudo comes back?
Oh,
You know, or
that's the car
even-
that comes out with Pikes Peak. I'm sorry,
Or
if they
even-
don't release them both together.
that's the update.
Absolutely. The
It's
other one,
actually illegal if they do it separately.
Yeah.
Or do one without the other.
do one without the other, and then everybody, like, everything just catches fire and burns. No, but like, as far as like, you know, they might do, because one of the great things that Gran Turismo does that no other franchise does is it educates you. You know, like they've got, if you're into that sort of thing, they've got museums where you can learn all about the manufacturers. Like, I didn't even know about Super Formula until Super Formula was added to the game.
Yeah,
So
that's right. I didn't either.
what they might do is release the track, and that's provided they actually intend to do anything with it. They might have just bought it, and then plans might have changed, and they might just sell it off to the licensed WRC group. But if they add it, they might also add, I mean, obviously the Escudo, because everyone knows it, everyone loves it, but they might also add some less known choices and actually educate us about, well, hey, you don't know this car, but this car actually did the run, 5 times quicker than the Escudo back in 2007.
Made the Kessel run in less than 14 parsecs. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Hey.
that's what Gran Turismo's good at, as far as being that sort of big dictionary of
It
vehicles.
is. And it's all about the culture behind it all, and that's been very clear from the beginning, and I really like that about it. Speaking of the education, though, when do we think we're going to see more menu books? Because we're pretty confident they're coming.
Probably in this next content update, even.
Yeah, I'd say because they can totally look into a group, because they've done a Group 3 championship as the last book. They could do a Group 2 one and a Group 1.
Yeah, they've still got Group 2, they've still got Group 1.
And they can even do like one makes as well.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a one make Super Formula Championship.
They
or something.
only really touched on the Group B very briefly, so there's still room to do a bit more with those cars. Not
There's
necessarily. Not saying that I want to see more Group B content. I'm a bit indifferent to the Group B cars, as I'm sure a lot of people are. But they left a lot on the table as far as what they can add. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind if they did like menu book seasons. Like maybe if they released a new round of menu books every year or something, or maybe every 6 months.
I think eventually they'd get to that point that they're only releasing it every 6 to 12 months.
I wouldn't really require a new round of menu books every 3 months or whatever it's been, every 2
I
months.
think we'll probably see a limit of 60 menu books over the course of the game's life.
Yeah. And what are we at, 39?
38 or something, yeah.
38?
39 was the finale, yeah. So, I don't know, I think it's... And again, they've left so much meat on the bone as far as content and as far as I think the one thing that probably shouldn't be done is giving you more, like, the menu books obviously gave you a lot of cars. I don't necessarily know that they should anymore, because, not saying that they shouldn't give you any cars, but, like, if you're playing Gran Turismo 7 for the first time, obviously the menu books are the way to build your early garage, because it gives you, like, 40 plus cars by the time you're done.
I'm sure it gives you a car so that you can pretty much do anything.
It gives you a
It may not be the car you
yeah.
it may not be the car that you want to do it in, but you have the ability to compete.
Exactly, and yeah. So once you've finished, I think maybe like the 39 that we've just done, that we've just finished, that could be maybe the beginner level, and then after you complete it and you get the ending movie, and great, congratulations, all the World Tour drivers say nice things about you. Maybe after that you have the advanced level, which is, it could even start again at number 1, and it could be,
true.
Or the other way they could do it is they could do all the same races all over again, but on a higher difficulty. It's like New Game Plus type thing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, I actually looking into that. Do you remember when you first start the game, you get to choose between 3 difficulties, and you got easy, which is 1 chili, and you got medium, which is 2 chilies, and you got hard, which is 3 chilies. But there was a slot for a 4th chili.
Yeah.
Is that going to be something that comes out? Because that might lead into what you were talking about, at an extra difficulty level. You go back and play through if you, like, for example, which we've seen isn't the case, but if you platinum the game, you go back to the start and you get the extra difficulty to give yourself more of a challenge.
We're yet to see what Sophie is. Sophie is going to be
Sophie's
implemented.
Still very much on the table. I think
I would say Sophie's a long way away. Given the difference in physics, she's going to require a whole new level of coding to get her from sport to GT7. It might be a ground-up rebuild.
And there was some...
go on, Smoke.
I was going to say there was some pretty public issues with Sophie in its GT Sport sort of reveal. Like, you saw how it was taking the chicane at Le Mans, like going into the pit entry to get a wider run at the chicane. Like, clearly,
I would say that's not a problem, though. Personally, I think that's a good thing about the AI, is that it just abuses the official limit.
Well, no, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, as in it shouldn't do it, but I think that kind of thing probably needs to be
that drew a lot of attention, for sure.
It did, yeah. Like, they need to go, wait, we need to make this pit entry not on track limits. But I think they've kind of done that with the
pit lane lines has been a thing,
the pit lane line, But I also don't think it gives you a penalty if you go into the pit lane and then cross out of the pit entry.
Yeah, I think
onto the
it
track,
only gives you a penalty if you go over the line before you go in, or you go over the line as you're exiting. If you go over the line like you're going to enter the pits
during
and then
a racing
back onto the racetrack, you're not going to get penalised.
That can't be penalised, and the reason that can't be penalised, I'm just thinking the most blatantly obvious example would be Deep Forest. You look at the racing line at Deep Forest, and the pit entry line is you have to cross the line, basically. So, but what I was going to say was, I think the reason they've got 3 chilies, but they've got room for the 4th chili, it's just covering their backside, in that people that want the ultimate challenge and all that, it's like a dish soap that says it eliminates 99.99%. They're never going to say it's 100%, because then, that's just the same thing. If they say that there's 4 chilies and this is the hardest it gets, but then Sophie comes along, it just gives them that wiggle room to say, Sophie's the 4 chili race, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, and again, like you're saying, only the most hardcore of the hardcore will probably be able to beat her at maximum tilt. But,
they'll be working a lot harder on fixing the game in its current state than they are on Sophie. And I'm so adamant that Sophie will take a very long time to come to GT7, purely because the game is so different to sport. You cannot just take that program and copy and paste it into GT7.
Oh, well, that's why the online's taking so long to get fixed. Is everyone seems to think that you can just basically take the online from there and whack it over there. But they've had to.
It's a completely new game.
It looks like they've started from scratch with lobbies
I think it's easy to forget because the HUDs are so similar and because the general flow of the game is so similar. It's easy to forget that actually, mechanically speaking, well, for lack of a better term, mechanically speaking, it's a ground up game. If it had a completely new HUD and everything was completely newly, around the place, it would be a bit more understandable. Oh, actually, this is a completely new game. But because it's
the same HUD, they've added a moisture meter, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even like how the cars are displayed in the garage, same profile, like same angle, same squares.
There's so many similarities that tell you it's the same game, but really it's not.
Which I'm not angry with, because if it looks clean, it looks, everyone knows where everything is, so I like
the familiarity as well.
HUD, yeah,
it's comfortingly familiar, but it's also its own thing. Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a tweet from Kaz very soon about the silhouettes, because that's just something that he always did in sport. Even when the Supras and the Yaris and stuff came out, he teased just a single.
Still did it.
Just a single silhouette, and everyone knew what it was, but he did it anyway. So that's I like that. I don't mind it because it provokes a lot of discussion and provokes a lot of hype, I suppose.
When it comes to marketing, I think PD does it right, and they've got a good system that works that they're not going to stray away from too much. So as far as promoting content coming to the game and things like that, I think we're going to see no issues whatsoever. Content's going to be announced, or it's going to be teased, or whatever, and it's going to come. Like, it's not going to be the same as the way everything else is kind of going at the moment, how it's all been kind of terrible and all been talked about very poorly. Like, obviously they fixed the money side of things. Can they fix
There's still other stuff
and stuff?
Yeah, and they fixed everything.
Well, I think one of the biggest thing, I actually got it written down as a topic to talk about, like lobby fixes.
Oh, the lobbies need a massive overhaul.
The fact that you can't even save your lobby settings or change the track of the lobby, that's just two of the most curious omissions.
Something that I thought we would see, this was before we kind of found out that the lobbies were a complete ground-up rebuild. I thought that there would be a feature implemented where you could go into the race settings in sport mode or whatever, like you press on the combination, it shows you all the details, and then there was a button to say generate lobby settings or something. And you could press that, it'd save all the settings, you could save it in a slot, and then go into lobby, load settings.
Is that a fever, or am I about to faint?
Hey, look, I have that effect on people, okay?
Oh, hang on a minute.
I thought we would see that, because that to me was the biggest logical next step to what we had in Gran Turismo Sport. Like, everybody in Gran Turismo Sport made lobbies to practice FIA.
Oh, absolutely.
It just seems so logical to me to go, why don't we make a feature where you can just save the settings?
Yeah, any given FIA,
I totally agree with that.
12 different lobbies with like all these different people. The other thing too is what was it? The being able to save the lobby settings, but also like being able to change settings on the fly. Like you can't even say.
You can't do that. You can't change time of day.
Yeah,
you can't change anything.
Am I the only one who is incredibly confused by the weather? So like you're trying to set the weather, and it's got all those preset options about cloudless, clear, and sunny, and then the other one is like hazy with a slight cloud. It's like all these different settings. Like, what's the actual difference between these? Like, it just seems to be
visual. They're all visual unless there's rain involved, from what I know.
And then also, if you're setting up a practice lobby, I think I heard about this with the high speed ring combination. People were having trouble finding the correct lobby settings to simulate what was going to happen at the race. So
well, you have to. I think it's very hard to simulate the official settings as they are going to be in the actual race, because we've seen, for starters, that the weather is similar but not identical per slot, for example. But as far as getting that weather setting right to match it, it's possibly impossible. I don't know if it is or isn't. But what you can do is you can practice in the wet and you can practice in the dry. And you can practice the transition between. Figure out where the spots are, find your puddles, everything like that.
I remember that Tsukuba race in the wet. All the practice I did, it was just like, we weren't sure what the weather was going to do. We practiced on the dry, we practiced in the wet. We did a couple of race simulations where it went from wet to dry or dry to wet, or it sort of hovered around. You could see where the lines developed. I felt perfectly fine going into both the slots I did. The first one was a dry quali session, completely dry. I felt fine. The race didn't start in black screen. And then the second one was completely wet. Absolutely soaking wet quali, soaking wet race, and I felt fine in either.
Yeah,
well, I didn't feel like I was a fish out of water.
I agree with that, but the problem with that particular circumstance is we were 2 races deep into a season where all the races were identical. So we'd already gone around Tsukuba for 2 full-on combos in the same car in dry conditions. So we had the dry nailed down. All we had to do was practice the wet. In an instance where a wet race comes up and we have to acclimatise to that track and then learn the dry and then learn the wet, it's going to take a bit more work than that. But I do agree that Tsukuba was remarkably easy to adjust to.
Yeah,
it was
as long as there's plenty of time to practice for the race. Like if we see just like a regular weekly race, like one race a week or 2, one for each championship. That would be adequate.
It was certainly the most inoffensive combo to, Roadsters at Tsukuba. It's easy. It's like the car
tested, mate.
Balanced. It was just. I think one of the things that they could, like we talked about, obviously being able to generate a lobby for practice. I think it should also be one of those things where you have a weather forecast for the
it's in the F1 games.
Yep.
In the F1 games, and like.
It's not intense.
They've got the little
it's just like a weather graphic.
Yeah.
Like you're watching a weather forecast on the news.
Gives you an idea, that's all you need.
Just because, obviously the weather's dynamic to a degree in the FIAs. Like I did the 2 high-speed ring races, and they were exactly the same weather-wise. They all started a little bit wet. They got wet, and then by the end of it, it was really, because I did the whole race on intermediates, you see, and it started off. It was a little bit too dry for the inters, but I was able to hang on to it, and then it got into that little sweet spot, sort of lap 3 to lap whenever it was, and then the last 2 laps, it was just
that's a good lap.
A little bit too wet. So but like
I know what you mean.
If you had a weather forecast where obviously the forecasters, the race is a little bit wet, but come lap 10 should clear up, just something real vague that people can go, okay, so we're looking at, they can toss
you have an
up
expectation for the weather to change, but you still got to make
toss up whether or not it's actually viable to swap tyres, because obviously
exactly, that's the biggest issue I can see.
That was the difference between like me and, for example, Crimson, because obviously they tried to do the tyre swap. They actually came in, changed tyres.
He tried to put on inters or something, didn't he?
He tried to put slicks on, I think, because it was getting drier.
I think high speed ring did get dry for some people, but
the point is he pitted, and I never saw him again. He finished like 16th, so that obviously didn't work. But if there was a weather forecast to say, look, it's expecting to be wet the whole way through, then you can at least go, okay, well maybe I'll just try dog it out on intermediates and we'll be all right. So
another thing on the wet weather,
it's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect.
Exactly. And
in terms of high speed ring with the weather, we found that. So we talked about in the beginning, in our first podcast, about the dry line forming and how it forms and where it's coded to form. So does it form where everyone's driving, or is it pre-programmed as to where it will form?
It's pre-programmed.
Now, high speed ring confirmed for us that it is pre-programmed, forms in the same place no matter where the drivers on track are driving or how many people drive over it, because turn to a high speed ring, everyone was taking the high line around the outside of the banking, the dry line was on the inside, right at the bottom. So
I think that's a problem.
That confirms that the dry line does not form where people drive, and also we have to understand it's a limitation of the console. I think they can't program that in, but
we'll look forward to that in Gran Turismo 8. They'll probably figure that out, and it'll be all
on the PlayStation 7.
Yeah, that's right. Released in 2035. So but like as far I can't be angry with it, because obviously I'm not a game developer. I don't know what it takes to do a dynamic racing line, and
it's probably really, really difficult.
In
That's
actual
just my guess.
I know-
yeah.
I know-
I'm
Based
not
on
an
the
expert.
AI, where the AI drives, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure. And
Yeah.
so the
Something
lines
I
the AI
do-
take are the ones that it dries
I
on.
know we talked about other racing games that have wet weather, like for example Project Cars 2, Assetto Corsa, all that sort of stuff. I don't even know if they have like dynamic dry lines that so it's not. It doesn't sound like Gran Turismo's missing out on anything. It's not like there's
Yeah.
another game. Oh, haha, you fool! We've got super. Your tires literally
Super dry
expel
line,
the
yeah.
water. Expel
Yeah.
the water from the track. So it's not. Obviously, it would. We can sit here and go, oh, it would be nice, but it's just one of those things. I mean,
There's
there's.
limitations.
I think,
Yeah.
I think it is. I said it was a problem before. I think that's probably a little bit harsh. Like, obviously, it's not
And the wet weather
ideal,
itself.
but
it is a problem
it's-
at high speed ring, because if you
True,
want to
yeah.
gamble and go to the slicks early, like if you go to the slicks with still a little bit of moisture on the track, you make that gamble early, you want to get the jump on people, you're going to die at that second corner, because unless you take the wrong line. Hey, last and four-wheel drive. You still die. But yeah, so if you want to take the gamble and go onto the slicks, you can't do that unless you're taking that AI line, and that AI line may be too slow.
The thing about it is, most of the FIA races, and I mean, I know manufacturers is a bit of an the longer races, but like most of the races are short enough that a pit stop, unless it's like down to the tire wear and tires are genuinely wearing out, a pit stop just to put on slicks or put on wets is sort of a bit negligible. Like,
Yeah.
you do better.
this
better to-
The
this
races
is
aren't long
actually
enough. You are correct.
Unless-
yeah.
this is
Unless it was like a really serious, like if you guys have done the 24 minutes of Le Mans, that driving mission,
haven't done it, but I'm familiar
That's
with it.
different, yeah.
if you get stuck on slicks, like in the course of one lap, it goes from a bone dry track to completely wet. Like even the AI are struggling because they're all stuck out on slicks. So that.
Well, the question is, if that was an FIA race or a GT World Series race, as they're now known, would you not just start on the wets?
Well, would you know that it was going to come down so heavily?
Assuming you do know.
Yeah.
You'd
Oh, look,
probably.
You'd absolutely
You'd probably start on the wets or the intermediates, right?
well, in that circumstance, yeah, there would be people that start on a wet weather tire.
And prevent the stop, yeah.
They suffer on the dry tire on a dry track for 2 laps or whatever, but then as soon as it rains, they're laughing. So
Yeah, this was a problem that I was quite vocal about in GT Sport as well. They've gone and put the pit length pretty much proportional to what it would be in real life.
But the races are short.
The key difference is the races in proportion to the pit loss are not long enough. Like, yeah, if you got a 2-hour race and a 30-second pit loss, there's probably enough time in the race to make back the 30 seconds you lost in the pit stop on the fresh tyres that you get in the pit stop.
Yeah.
In a 20-minute race, there is not enough time to make back a 30-second loss. So you may as well sort of work out, okay, I lose 30 seconds by pitting, but I only lose 20 seconds by
Using
driving
one
a
tyre.
How
second
about-
stint on the same tyre.
how about that
So-
Daytona pit exit though?
Which one?
Oh,
Daytona.
Daytona.
It's so quick. You
so-
travel 100 kilometers in a second.
can't it just teleport you at the end of the
I
pit
was
lane,
gonna
please?
say, every other track does it. I don't get why. But hey, look.
Oh, dear.
Anyway, that's interesting.
I found a tweet by, you may have seen it was by Key25. He said that he has said countless times, he tweeted about this, have it so the pit length, like the pit loss, is proportional to how long the race is.
Yeah.
So it looks
It's
like a
a
simple maths
percentage, right? It's a
calculation.
percentage.
Yeah. Simple maths calculation.
If you're gonna scale down the races and obviously the tire wear multipliers and the fuel wear multipliers and all that, surely it can't be unrealistic for them to make the pit stops equally quick.
Yeah.
You've got tyre multipliers, you can have pit stop multipliers, right?
Yeah, you should. Because all they would need to do is change the amount of time it takes from when you actually enter the pit and how long it takes for your car to arrive in the pit box. Like, sometimes it's 35 seconds and you're just sitting there looking at your empty pit box.
Yeah.
And then the animation changes in a split second and your car arrives. You just change that. That's all you need to do.
Even if it was an instant, like, I mean, in an FIA, GT World Series, we're going to have to learn that acronym real soon, but even in a competition...
GTWS.
Even in a competition environment...
GT dubs, bro.
you come into the pits.
I like
chances
that.
are you already know what tires you want. So like,
Yeah.
it's not going to take long to pick your tires, and then if you need fuel, obviously wait for the fuel to do its thing. But like that shouldn't, like you should pretty much enter the pits and then straight away be in your box. If we're talking about short races, so because I don't see those races being much longer than like 40 minutes. I mean, I think the longest FIA race that we had in sport was about, I think it was like 45 minutes, and that was like 16 laps of Suzuka, like Group 4 or something. I think it was like 18 laps, but it was Group.
It was
Don't forget though, the casuals will take a lot longer.
Oh, absolutely. But
I wonder if they cater for those too.
They can't really be too much longer than an hour because obviously you have people that want to do the different slots. So
yeah, they can't make it so that if everything functions as it should, that you miss the next slot because of the first race.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so
I just want to go back to lobbies before we move on to the next.
I actually wanted to go back to that as well because
Yeah.
I've got a little interesting bit of information
So
that everyone.
We were
like to
talking
hear.
about omissions from the lobby setups. So you can't save settings, you can't change settings, all of that stuff. Latency is a problem. One thing that's come up recently, and this was discussed in the Sector 1 Discord a little bit, and I'm very surprised. But I'm not surprised by it, but I'm just like, oh, why did you not put this back in? And it's the use of the keyboard to direct the camera as a commentator or a spectator.
Mm-hmm.
You do not have that feature anymore. It no longer exists. So, what doesn't exist yet, and that was so vital. And there was a replay function on the keyboard, and it made broadcasts look amazing for anyone who was commentating or race directing or whatever. It was huge. It was a game changer. Anyone who watched it for the first time, saw someone use a replay for the first time, they were like, "Whoa! How did you do that? Do you work for Polyphony?"
Yeah.
That was me. I saw Tidgney do it, and I freaked out. I was like, "Wait, what? This isn't just for live events."
Yeah, for me it was Monkey Matt. He was like real good. He was real good with like using all the shortcuts and making it real silky smooth. And I was like, "What the heck? Like, what's this guy doing?"
I've seen his keyboard. He's labelled all of them as well.
Yeah, he has. Could you
brilliant.
imagine a race director using music replay?
Oh,
Oh man, it'd be so good. And I like the new camera that they've got. Like the new in-car camera is amazing.
In-car camera is very nice.
The fact that I don't have a shortcut key on my keyboard to switch to it, and I have to scroll through all of the views to get to it, is just so painful.
But again, that's probably one of the things that, I mean, they might go, "Oops, our bad. We thought we added that," and it might get chucked in the next update or something.
I hope so.
There's just so many. I mean, Music Rally. Everyone's pretty much done with that already. You see at the end of it, there's coming soon. Look forward to new ones, and everyone's sort of
and there's six, and they take
Okay.
like 5-10 minutes each.
I'm not looking forward to the new ones.
I don't even know what what could they do for the new ones? Like, it's going to be...
Oh, they'll just pick random ones. It'd be just like finding combinations for
one at Special Stage
Nations
Route
Cup.
X.
Oh god, yeah, everyone's got the same distance.
Yeah. But yeah, look, as far as the broadcasting mode, it is a bit of a kick in the teeth because obviously, like you say, the likes of Tidgney and Monkey Matt and all them that were race directing and broadcast, and even Sector 1, I'm sure will feel the pinch when they get back underway later this week. You said
I have to say on that topic though, I've said this before and I'll say it again. The lobbies and getting it sorted for leagues and private stuff and all that sort of thing, that is dead last on PD's list.
Yeah.
Because those things exist to prolong the life of the game. They are what keeps the game going into the very end of its life cycle, the leagues and those communities. So that can be left till later because they don't need that, like PD don't need that to exist until, in a year's time. So, the only thing that they really need to worry about when it comes to lobbies is making that practice available for people who want to practice for FIA or GTWS.
And I mean, it does need to function properly for us to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Like you say, it's last in priority. If they're doing it so that leagues can run better, then obviously it is. But I think
the keyboard can wait. The keyboard can
definitely wait, but they just need to fix it and make it stable enough so that we can just efficiently run a practice lobby.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, more important things.
I don't know if you guys know about Let's Play Live, but they actually hosted a Gran Turismo charity race earlier, earlier in the month, and like it was broadcast on Sky Sport. They had like Guilt Trap sponsoring it. They had a Lamborghini in the little showroom there. Look at us, we've got a Lamborghini, And
is this on Sport?
Yeah, Sky Sport.
Yeah.
And
this is on GT Sport.
GT7. No, sorry, this was recently.
Really?
Yeah, and they had it was a fully fledged. They had like celebrities. They had Greg Murphy doing commentary. They had who was it?
How did I never hear about this?
Oh, because it's so.
Oh, true. Okay.
Because the lobbies were so the way they were back then, it was terrible. The racing was like there were people just absolutely zigzagging all over the place. It was a race at High Speed Ring in the Porsche 917 Vision, and then it was a race at Daytona also in the Porsche 917 Vision, the road course. And bro, it was like
it was awful,
terrible. It was like I felt so bad for Murph because he's trying to obviously talk up the action and talk about what's going on. And there's like people lagging into each other and sending like 4 people off into the infield at Daytona, and it's like, how are you supposed to commentate that?
If it was celebrities, most of them couldn't probably drive a race to.
Well, they were all on controller, mate. They were all on controller.
Oh wow!
So probably like on automatic with the traction control on and the stability management. But the point is, someone actually greenlit hosting a tournament on national TV. On free to air, and like that was what they got. What sort of taste is that going to leave in people's mouth about Gran Turismo, who's never played the game before?
Not good. I'd imagine.
So that was very interesting that they would choose to do, and that's why I haven't really pushed to do anything with Monkey Matt yet. As far as the lobbies still need work, and obviously, it'll be interesting to see how Sector 1 goes. I'd be keen to hear from that, Adam. And
keep an eye on the YouTubes, mate.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's definitely. It's
I'm still so on board with doing a national championship here in New Zealand, like our version of a live event. But like you say, with the lobbies the way they are, you can't do
anything yet. We can't do anything yet. And I said even before launch, it's probably going to be a 6-7 month period of just do the single player stuff while they sort out the online stuff. And so far, I'm right. So
yep.
Yeah.
I'll take your, well done, Nathan.
Well done, Nismo.
You're a clever guy, mate. You're a clever guy.
Predicting the future over here. So yeah, those lobby fixes, I reckon they're pretty low priority at the moment, and that's kind of okay. I reckon the other big thing that they need to fix ASAP is the BOP. That's fairly obvious.
Yep.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, that's fairly obvious. The thing about that, though, I don't know if either of you or anybody watching sees Tidgney's content on the regular. His latest daily race guide, he's got a little bit of information in there that I find particularly interesting, because I forget how he got onto the topic, but he basically was complaining about the BOP, I think, and he reached out to Polyphony, because those World Tour drivers have a feedback way in. They have a way in to talk and get some information from the inside. Why is the BOP not fixed? It's been however many months, and the Mazda Atenza is still hugely OP. Why is that BOP not being fixed yet? And the answer is because they are working on a physics issue, an oversteer issue, that's quote unquote, and then paraphrasing, but it's not the oversteer that you get when you get on the throttle. So
what they're saying is we're going to expect another understeer update like the Sport.
I think there's a physics update on the way.
So physics first, then BOP.
And the connection is they don't want to do all the BOP, change the physics, and then the BOP's out again.
Which I can understand because
the grip has changed, and I understand that. Yeah,
like I said, you need the races to be run. Connection is obviously priority number one. People can't race. Yep. People can't even enter the event. Then it's the physics. People need to actually be able to drive the car before they worry about being competitive, and then it's the BOP. I think it's a threefold thing there. So yeah. I think they're going about it the right way, but it's just, again, it's easy to forget that we're not just talking about, a little bit of work on the laptop and then ding, it's all done.
It's not going to be done tomorrow, is it? I reckon this is months. This is months of work.
So yeah.
But yeah, I find that interesting, especially the bit where it's not the oversteer when you get on the throttle, because I find that a particularly...
That is particularly brutal.
Particularly bad, yeah. Like, I guess it's okay. Like, it teaches you patience.
Having said that,
if you practice enough, you'll be able to get it.
You do also have the likes of, like we talked before about the Porsche at Le Mans, the circuit experience, where the arse would just randomly go no matter what speed you were doing.
Oh, the Peugeot. Yeah.
So the Peugeot, yeah. So they might not necessarily be talking about oversteer in that you get on the gas, the rear steps out, oh my god.
Yeah, no, they're not.
They might have found some issues like the Peugeot where you're committing to a high-speed corner, and the corners that come to mind are, I mean, obviously at Le Mans,
Porsche curves,
the likes of I think Interlagos was another the just before the front straight at Interlagos. There was actually some people getting loose there.
Jeez.
Just the sort
what, like on the flat out section?
on the run, yeah. So you come around the final corner.
Yeah.
What's technically the final corner, and then the straights.
The
just
final real braking zone.
Yeah, a slow, consistent. And there were some people
and
getting
people
up speed. And then
the car just goes.
As it sort of levels out, yeah, they
I think there's
a car should not do that.
I think there's too severe. What's the word? Undulation affects the cars too severely at the moment. I presume that's related to what they're dealing with.
I think you sort of realised that too with the rally, because obviously you remember when it launched, there was a lot of people complaining about the rally jumps and how the jumps upset the car. I think they've
updated that as well.
They have.
It's still pretty bad, but it's not as bad.
I think it was bad, then it got worse, then they've made it better.
They made it. What really got me with the rally was the way the camera sort of stopped following. You know, when you jump, the camera sort of goes way higher than the car, and so you lose that.
Is that a chase cam thing?
It's a chase cam thing, but it was just. Yeah, sorry, you bonnet guys wouldn't know, but yeah.
Bump cam.
Shut up. Cockpit cam.
Yeah, I'm the only. Turns out I'm the only intellectual here.
Airborne races cockpit cam.
He races cockpit cam.
Yeah.
There's a few people who do.
He's one of the only.
Lovely Unicorn does.
He's one of
Lovely Unicorn.
One of the only guys I know who actually seriously races cockpit cam.
One of the top guys in Sector 1 races cockpit cam. Full time. All the time. Yep.
Rocky?
Full time.
Yep.
Full timer cockpit cam.
Yeah.
Full time cockpit cam. Yep.
Cool.
What were we talking about?
We were talking about physics and how the undulation.
Yeah. I've seen a bit around that people are sort of getting the feel that it's a little bit too oversteery for a console game. And like, I probably agree, but if this is the way the game is going to be, it's just a matter of practicing and getting used to it, and I can probably handle that. I will say, though, the Genesis Group 3, oh my god. Oh my god.
I haven't driven that yet.
Mate.
One of those ones
have you ever oversteered in fourth gear?
I've always been meaning to, but I've just sort of never, like, it's just sitting there in my garage, and then I'll get and do something else. I'll be like credit grinding, or I'll be doing an endurance race, or like, and I hate
that it has the same engine note as the Genesis Hyundai.
Well,
the Hyundai Genesis.
It's probably got the same engine.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Oh, does it?
Actually, mechanically, the Genesis is actually the Kia Stinger, as far as...
Is it?
Mechanically, yeah, because I was doing a bit of research about it. I was like, Genesis...
I would much rather have a Kia Stinger race car than a Genesis race car.
Me too. Oh, I missed that supercar render. Remember when there was a render of like Kia Stinger being in V8 supercar?
Oh, yeah, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Dude. They're amazing. I got to drive one the other day. They're so good.
Did they come in manual? I don't think they come in manual,
I don't know if they did, but the one I was driving wasn't manual, so...
Because, what was it? My dad used to work at Hertz, and so they had, brand new rentals, and one of them was a Stinger, and he said it was a beast. It was like turbo V6. I think
370 horsepower?
Yeah,
they come in all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive. This one I drove was rear-wheel drive.
Okay.
Sounds like a load of fun.
Sounds like a lot of car for the money, because they're pretty cheap too.
They are cheap. 50,000 New Zealand dollars. You can get one for 50,000.
They use Stingers as cop cars here.
They do. That's right. They do. I didn't hear about that, and it was like, oh, cool. And then buy an ex-cop car Stinger. Oh, that would be awesome.
It'll be the new Commodore. You'll see them popping up for Marketplace. Oh, got the cop chip and the ECU.
My dad's got a Commodore with a cop chip in it.
They have cop chip?
I heard that's all like
Yeah.
I heard that's all a bit of a ploy. Like it's not actually, you know.
I think it like slightly increases the power.
Yeah, I don't know.
Atom, you're the mechanic here, mate.
I thought it just means that the cop cars can drive faster than whatever they're chasing.
That's called a bottle of nitrous oxide, mate. That's what you do.
Not in Queensland. We got a no pursuit law.
There's no pursuit laws in New Zealand as well.
You can't pursue anything. The chase after. Anyway, how did we get talking about police and stuff?
I don't know.
I will confirm. No, you cannot pursue in New Zealand.
No.
We talk about oversteer.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's a good time to be a drifter if you enjoy drifting.
Yeah.
Maybe they need to do the Nations Cup, the Manufacturer Series, the Tuning Championship. Maybe they also need to
and
do
the Drifting Championship.
Well, I think we'll know who'll win the drifting championship.
Could you imagine D1 GT?
D1 GT. Oh,
ooh,
dude.
Yeah.
Oh, we're on something here.
We are onto something there.
Smart. Instead of murdering Kaz, could you like send them an email, please?
I'll make sure to do the email first.
Well, I'm glad to hear that they're looking into physics and then BOP, so they are.
Yeah. I think that's the right way to go about things. That's the right order.
They are, but I think the important thing for now, I think it's going to be a little bit of a wait. So I think if there's going to be an official manufacturer's season in May, I guess it's choose Mazda if you want to be competitive. But I think there's still
like 5 manufacturers you can pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still think there's a good amount of value in choosing whatever manufacturer you like and having your own goal just to be the top of your manufacturer.
It's going to depend too on like obviously the tracks, because normally we learn the calendar before we learn the dates as such. So if it's a very, I mean, the same question gets asked every season. You know, is it a power season or is it a handling season?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It doesn't matter anymore because you can take both the cars from your manufacturer.
Yeah, I kind of.
I think you have to own the car before you sign, though.
Well, yeah,
I don't think you can
still use it.
Sign.
Still have the.
I don't think you can sign with BMW and choose the Z4 or whatever.
No, you can't.
Then after the fact, go and buy the M6. It won't come up.
You can.
Whereas if you have the M6, you can.
Anything in the garage. Yeah.
As long as you have it.
Mate.
As long as you own it, because
bloody Tez filling me with porkies.
Tez got your leg, mate. Because what was it? I bought the Sylvia and it let me use it for the.
Okay, all right.
Not that I used it for high speed.
Stand corrected.
Yeah. Oh,
all right. Well, I think that's about everything, isn't it?
Seems about it.
Covered. The only thing we haven't really talked about is the fact that you can choose any car for your manufacturer that is a manufactured car.
Yeah, we did touch on that last time, I think, but.
You know,
that is a bit of an issue.
I don't know if it's an issue. I like it, but it gives a lot of manufacturers an unfair advantage.
Yeah, that's why it's an issue.
Yeah. Kaz also said that we're expecting new events up to 24 hours. Is that too much?
Yes.
Nah, that's good. That's good.
I'm assuming you can probably just pause the game and leave the console running.
I'd like to think so.
And then, in that case, it's completely fine.
No way is anybody like.
No.
You imagine the top Gran Turismo drivers trying to compete at the highest level, and all these World Tour events and all this, that, and the other. But then, they're also got to do this 24-hour race real quick. That's
you can pause everything else. You'll be able to pause the 24-hour race.
Yeah.
But it's historic. It's been in the history of GT. GT4 had them. I think a few of the games had 24-hour events.
4 and 5 had 24-hour races. 6 had 24-minute, but that was it.
I think bringing back 24-hour races is a good.
I think it's interesting. I've never done a 24-hour race.
I'd say they'll bring out 5, and there'll be missions.
Yeah, I can't see it.
Yeah.
I can't see it. But hey, look.
It'll be interesting.
We'll talk about it another time. Adam's starting to drive now, so you can tell he's getting bored. So.
I'm not driving.
I thought you were starting a daily race or something.
No, I've just got my hand on my shifter and I'm fiddling.
Fair enough.
Okay, hello.
He's fiddling.
Now
he's fiddling. Okay, you hear that, viewers? Atom fiddles with his knob. You've heard it here first.
Smike, you're gonna get demonetized.
This is getting a little bit beyond. I think you better wrap it up, mate.
This is going on the clip reel. This is going on the clip.
I think we've talked about just about everything we need to. So
classic.
To recap, GT World Series races schedule. It's a bit too intensive, isn't it? And we would like to see
current state, but I mean,
We
again,
expect
We would like to
change.
see the schedule reduced back, but we kind of think it's because it's a test season, it's data gathering, it doesn't really count for much.
it can be justified that they're just trying to speed things along and obviously get the show
Exactly.
on the road.
Yeah.
Yep.
Economy forgiven? We think kind of yes, to be honest.
Economy's good.
Yeah, I just have sort of the lingering opinion that media release should have been before the first update, but that's just me.
I'll say again, I didn't care about the economy changes in the first place, so
you didn't care. Content predictions, GR010 on the way. I reckon that's pretty well confirmed.
Yep.
I think it is confirmed because it's in a schedule. There we go. PP system, was it necessary? Not really, but it could be good. It could be made good if the tuning is kind of improved.
Yep.
There's arguments both ways, definitely. Bot fixes, it kind of goes with lobby fixes as well. I think the bot fixes, it will be worked on once this little physics update is complete, and then I think after the lobby fixes will come into play, and that should make the online experience a lot better, enable leagues to run, and allow us to actually practice for these World Series races, and please bring in the feature so that you can generate lobby settings from the event settings. How good would that be?
That'd be amazing.
That's such a stupid omission, but hey, hopefully, like I said, it might be one of those things. Oh, crap, we thought we added that. Oh, how bad. So
yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's just about going to wrap this episode up. I will say now we are looking at getting guests on in the future, so make sure you get yourselves subscribed, if I can speak correctly, and just basically make sure you don't miss out on that, because there could be the potential of some quite high-profile individuals getting themselves on our little Trackside Lounge podcast.
let us know
But
if you want anybody in particular.
Oh, yeah, definitely, because I'm sure we all have connections in one way or another, except me. I don't know anybody. But, look, that's just going to wrap it up, so make sure you hit the like button if you enjoyed, and do subscribe if you'd like to see more podcasts from us. Big thanks to Atom for today as well, and Nismo as well. Give yourselves a round of applause, pat on the back, whatever you'd like to do. I think the best way to show your appreciation is to smash that like button. Very good. Okay, well, that's going to wrap up this podcast today, and that means that is it from us. So once again, we do thank you very much for watching. See you later.
See you guys.
Nice job, everyone.
That's our wrap.